Welcome. I hope you enjoy the conversation you're about to see between me and another comedian about religion and comedy. These are conversations I'm calling disorganized religion. God bless. And for those atheists out there, may nothing await you after this life. Hey,
Awesome.
nerds. Welcome to another edition of Disorganized Religion. I am your host, as always, Seth Lawrence. And this week, I am joined by the fantastic, the mighty, the co-host of the Over Yonder Mic, and someone you can actually find on Instagram. She's gaining some real fame. How about that for a pun? The one, the only, Maria Bruggere. Maria, thank you so much for
Thanks for
joining me
having
this
me.
week. Absolutely. How's quarantine been treating you?
It's been good. I still have my job, so I'm
That's
happy
good.
about that. Yeah, that's really good. And things have kind of been busy and then been slow, and now they're getting busy again. So I'm happy about that. I've been doing
Sure.
tons
What
of
is your career, your day job? What is your day job?
yeah. So I work at a social media agency. It's actually
Ah,
called Rosewood Creative. Little plug there for them.
sure.
And we work with huge brands. We work with Apple. We've worked with Netflix. I'm not going to say the account that I work on,
Fair enough. Fair
but I
enough.
think that's fair. Yeah. So, but we
Yeah.
work with big corporations and we manage their social media accounts. So we've done some really cool stuff, and it's creative. So I'm creative with comedy, and I'm creative at work, and it's
Yeah.
kind of a dream come true. So
That's great. And that seems
yeah,
to be kind of a cohesive, skill set that you've got.
yeah. It's funny. I moved back to LA. I lived in LA for like 5 years, and then I moved back to Portland, where I'm from, for a while,
Ah,
and then I came back down here for the job, and the comedy thing just happened to work itself out too. So I kind of got lucky.
yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's probably good you're in LA now as opposed to Portland now,
Yeah.
given all of the protests and everything that's gone on in Portland. Have you been following all that really closely, or?
Yeah, I have. I know. I've got a few insider tips that I'm not going to share, but
Oh, all right.
you
Well,
can
fair
ask
enough.
me
All right, little
offline. You can
teasers.
DM me if you want to know
Oh
there's
boy.
the slide there. No,
Yeah.
I have been following it. It's funny. A lot of people I've talked to are like, yeah, we'd move to Portland if it wasn't for the politics up there right now. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's literally like a 5 block radius of, can I say on this show?
Yeah. Yeah. You can
Okay,
say
it's like
whatever you
a
want.
5 block radius of, like,
Yeah.
regardless of what side you're on. I think
Yeah.
it's mostly peaceful protesters, but
Have they decided
there's some
what they're calling
chaos.
themselves? Haven't they
I
split between a
don't
couple different
know.
names?
They have, I think it's like freedom fighters. Maybe that was up in Seattle. And then I think like people sort of coined the Antifa thing, even though it's
Ah,
not really a name, but it's like
sure.
everybody Antifa, let's be real. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know how political we were going to get on this, but
yeah.
is all right. If you want to talk about Antifa, is it a group or is it an idea? Is Antifa a group of people? Is it an organization?
I think it's an idea that
Yeah.
certain people who have a lot of activity on Twitter would like to make it a thing.
Right.
I
Right.
think if you're a real, I don't, this is going to sound really political, but I think if you're a real American, you should be Antifa.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Like I think fascism,
Anti-fascist?
I think fascism's not a great thing. I
Sure. I
think it's
mean,
pretty weird that people on TikTok think it's a good idea.
to be fa
Yeah. Yeah. But so, I mean,
or pro fa?
the Portland thing, like the suburbs are fine. Most of the
Yeah.
city is fine. I
Yeah.
think, it's a little weird that people are afraid of Portland. Like there are much worse things going on in other parts of the state than what's going on in the city of Portland.
Well, of course, and much worse things going on in other parts of the world than anything that's going on in the United States,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, if you've ever stepped outside of your zip code, you would probably figure that out.
Right. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, regarding the idea versus organization thing, I don't know why Republicans don't just come back with, well, white supremacy is an idea, but there are lots of organizations that are white supremacists. So that's probably
Yeah.
why they don't.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. The whole
Yeah.
thing is weird. And I also think that Republicans defending white supremacy at this point would be, it's kind of a moot point, right? Like to say that that's an idea and then their organization. I mean, really, you're
Right.
going to defend
Right.
the term? I don't know.
I mean, I feel like even with it, it's typically the discussion is about freedom of speech, and they focus on, look, we need to protect freedom of speech even for the white supremacists, because then, if we're protecting all freedom of speech, they will be included with that, right? And it's kind of one of the unfortunate externalities of freedom of speech. But even there, it's really uncomfortable. It's really, even me just saying it is very uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, I think everybody wants to protect freedom of speech. I don't think that's a. I
Do
don't
they,
think that's.
Maria?
Yeah, I
Do
do.
they?
I do. I don't think that's a one side or the other. I think
Yeah,
everybody has their own agenda of what it is they want to protect within it, and I think it's
sure.
very nuanced. But I think it's the First Amendment. Like everybody's going to fight for that, for however it serves them.
Right,
The
right.
Second Amendment's another story. That's
I
a much more
mean,
materialistic
come on.
amendment.
Second Amendment is like the most American amendment there is. You kidding me? That's the most Antifa amendment there is the Second Amendment.
It's so different. The First
Yeah.
Amendment is so clear, I think, in a lot of ways, and the Second Amendment is it's sort of old school.
Yeah, yeah. That is true. I mean, I think both have good intentions at heart. I will say the Second
Mhm.
Amendment came from a good place, I believe, a place of necessity, perhaps, whereas
Mhm.
the First Amendment is probably one that is a universal truth.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Like some of them are sort of unarguable ethics, and
mm,
morals, and then the other ones just sort of like, this is a thing and we think you should be able to have it.
yeah.
Not really the same. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, when you're faced with an oppressive regime, an oppressive government, you kind of need both. You need to be able to speak your mind and enforce your idea if they are infringing on your right. But
Yeah. But if women ruled the world,
if women ruled the world, you don't
we
think there'd
might not
be?
need it.
I mean, I don't know. A woman rules my house, and there is violence. I will say that there is violence on
But you're
all
Mormon.
fronts.
It's supposed to be perfect.
We are striving for perfection.
Uh-huh.
We're
Yeah.
not quite there yet, but we're closer than everyone else. That's where we are
Mm.
with that. Yeah, I don't know. You think it's time? Do you think it's time for a woman president, for Joe Biden to kick the can, as it were, and just make way for Kamala Harris?
I mean, I don't want Joe to kick the can. I think he's worked really hard given his age and his accomplishments, and I don't
Yeah.
think he had to do this. I
I
think
mean,
he
if we
chose
want to
to
know
do
about the Second Amendment, he was there when it was written. We should ask him.
it. That's funny.
Oh,
Oh,
hey,
burn on the old guy. Burn on the guy who gets his raisins every morning. Oh my God. I've been saying it, Mike. So I'm like, the United States is basically just one big assisted living facility. Okay.
yeah,
And they took the two loudest, crankiest guys and they were like, let's just see what happens. And
sure,
they're just throwing raisins at each other out of their oatmeal. You gave me too many. You gave me the wrong ones. These
yeah,
raisins are immigrants. I don't want, it's just, that's
right.
what we're in right now. So it's
Yeah,
really,
it's unfortunate. That VP debate
yeah.
though was pretty good. Did you like the VP debate?
The VP debate was good. I think people keep asking me my opinion on it, which is, I mean, I'm sort of politically minded, so I get it. But
Sure.
I thought it was boring. I think a lot of
Mm,
people felt that way, but I thought it was boring in a good way. And I
yeah.
think if you were curious about Kamala, you kind of got a sense for who she is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I hate to say this, but people did see her softer side a little bit. Like I think she presented very friendly, even though she was firm.
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
don't know that we saw that in the primary debates. I think she was much more of a prosecutor,
Mm.
whereas last night she was kind of a teacher. She was like, "I'm speaking, like you're gonna shut up."
Teacher
Uh,
or a mom, right? One of the two.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was good. I thought she looked great. I thought her knowledge and her like the studying that she did leading up to that really showed.
Yeah.
Um, Mike Pence
I
is a
mean,
robot.
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. He's a
Yeah.
machine.
But not a good machine, like a machine that's malfunctioned and is now functioning on a different plane, and we're
I
not
think
sure what happened, but there's no point in fixing it.
okay. I mean, I don't know that he's malfunctioned. I think he's serving the exact purpose he was meant to serve. He's just not an interesting machine.
Yeah, I just think it makes me a little bit sad. I think like
Mm.
it makes me sad that the Republican Party, there are good things about the Republican Party, okay? Like I think that some of the stuff that they've represented over the years, it's changed a lot, but it's good to have a balance of power.
Yeah.
And right now, it's the Republican Party is so confused, and they don't know who to stick up for. They don't know if they want to stick up for themselves. Like, for example, Mitt Romney's tried to stick up for certain things, and then
Sure.
it's kind of walked back. And I think there's a lot of threatening and bribing, and I think it's sad that very few of them have come forward and been like, you know what, we've had enough. Like, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make us radical leftists to go against this guy in power.
Right. I mean, I think, okay, well, first of all, who do you think is the more boring machine, Mitt Romney or Mike Pence?
I think, so I have getting into the religion a little bit, I have a little bit of a soft spot for Mormons because I grew up around a lot of Mormons. And
sure. Are there a lot of Mormons in Portland? Is that where you grew up?
There's quite a few Mormons in Portland. There's a really nice temple if you've never been. Yeah, there's a really
I've not
nice
been to
temple.
that one, but yeah.
Yeah, little secret. So when they built that temple, my parents got to take a tour of it because they opened it up to the public, and so they feel very special about that because once it's open, you don't get to.
No, we're very selective about who goes in.
And I grew up,
maybe
15 minutes. I grew up 15 minutes from that temple. So I think people probably gravitate to some of that, I would imagine, Mormon-wise.
Sure.
So grew up with a lot of Mormons, and like grew up just learning a lot about the religion from just going to school with kids, not even being necessarily interested in the religion. And then in college, a couple of my really best guy friends all through college I went to Oregon State, but they played football.
Yeah. Against
so they got
BYU.
to sort of forego the missionary thing and the BYU thing to go play football.
Sure.
And so I was really close with them. And so I get it. Like, I get what you guys are about. It's not for me, but I get it. I understand it works for some people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is really good. I think for the most part, you guys are a great group of people who are loving and kind and have sort of an ideal perspective on things. You're not a religion that's tried to go to war with a ton of people like other, there's just some element. Yeah, there's just some elements of it that are really good. I obviously have other opinions about certain parts of it, but I get it. Like, I think what Mitt Romney represents on a lot of levels is really great. I don't really feel like Mike Pence stands for much. I think he just sort of exists. And I think he even said it last night. He's like, I never expected to be vice president. And it's like, he really probably didn't. Like Kamala was probably like, yeah, you know what? At some point, I'm going to be in charge. Okay.
Yeah.
And Mike's like, yeah, I like mother. And this is weird.
I don't know how I ended up here.
But so I think that's fair.
Very interesting. Yeah. Well, I can't wait. Couple things. I can't wait to get into the aspects of my faith that you are not super fond of, because that is what I love talking to people about. And the other is, our love of the First Amendment, I think, is really what drew me to stand-up comedy. Because I feel like there are people out there that don't really believe in all of what free speech professes, that there are certain terms and words and expressions they want banned. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just curious as to why they want them banned and to challenge that notion, right? So that's part of, for me, what I love about doing stand-up as it relates to the First Amendment. Is that similar for you, or are you coming to stand-up for a different reason altogether?
I don't think I read the First Amendment and was like, you know what, stand-up comedy. That's what I see when I read the First Amendment.
Well, that's what I did. Yeah.
And when I read the history books in 8th grade or whenever you really learn U.S. history, that's not what came to mind. What drew me to stand-up comedy, I would say I've always been really opinionated. So I grew up in a household with two parents. People always joke, they're like, you guys are Italian. And I was like, no, I would never want to be Italian. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of Italian. That's a whole nother story. I understand I'm lumping people into a category, but
well, you heard it here. Maria Bruggere. Racist. They're racist against the Italians.
Love the food. Would love to appropriate the culture, but just not the people. No. And because we've always been opinionated, I grew up, we had family dinner almost every night, and my parents would just sit and talk about the day or the news or the election or, gay rights, whatever was going on in the adult world was what
Yeah.
was going on at my dinner table. And
Yeah.
so I sort of, I guess, grew up at the adult table, so to speak. And I have a brother. And so it was a very, family of four or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Are you the older of the two?
I am. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I've always been interested in public speaking. I was
Yeah.
always in student leadership. I always had an opinion. I always had no problem letting people know I had an opinion verbally.
Sure.
And I
Sure.
think that worked in my favor until I graduated college and got into the corporate world and realized that if you want to work in corporate America, unless you're at the top and a white man, you don't really get to have an opinion. You're just
Oh
supposed to be
boy.
happy and grateful to be there because we finally let you in.
Oh boy. All right.
Um, and so I felt a little like silenced or ignored,
Mm.
or I just felt like all of a sudden I didn't get to have a voice. And I was like, if this is what the next 30 years is supposed to be,
Yeah.
I'm out. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do this. So I got a job at an agency, at a social media agency. I took a stand-up class when I was in Portland from a
Uh-huh.
really great guy and gal who are now both LA comics and doing
Oh,
huge
nice.
things. Yeah. And and I just started doing it. And then after that, I was like, oh, this is a place, kind of to the First Amendment point, just not as literally, where I can get up, I can have an opinion, I could make
Yeah.
money for having an opinion. It
Sure.
doesn't have to be a popular opinion.
Right. In
It just
fact,
has
it's
to be,
sometimes better if it's not.
yeah, it just has to be popular enough that people will respect you for it. So
Right.
you have to at least be able to make a point where people are like, I get it, like I
Yeah.
see it,
Yeah.
And so I realized that was my outlet for just all of these thoughts in my head. I've always been a
Yeah.
writer. That's like the subjects I did well in school, and I did sports journalism in college. And
Yeah.
so it just sort of made sense. I wish I'd found it about 10 years sooner than I did.
Right.
But, you
Right.
grow like this, it's sort of this curse of the suburban lifestyle. You have a decent family, you have a
Yeah.
decent upbringing, you go to
Yeah.
a decent college, you make decent grades, and you get a decent job. And then you
Right.
realize, oh, this
I'm
isn't
not
what I
happy.
wanted. You're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so did your parents kind of like steer you away from anything entertainment based, or was that just
No,
never even in your head?
I think they both secretly wish they'd worked in entertainment.
Ah,
I
okay.
think my mom actually like dabbles a little bit in documentary filmmaking, and she's lived
Oh.
in LA for the last several years, and so she's done things here and there. And
Mm-hmm.
my dad was an entrepreneur and CEO at a tech company, so he was the front man, so that gives way to public speaking and
Yeah.
public events, and he's very well known in Oregon. And he ran for United States Senate in 1996
Oh,
as a
wow.
Democrat against a Mormon guy. Hey-o, full
Whoa.
circle.
Oh my gosh. And did he
Yeah,
lose because he took on the Lord?
he did.
Yeah.
So you
Man.
guys are strong.
Wow.
Strong.
When we pray, we pray. Uh, so you're
Yeah.
not just from like a family that's a little bit politically leaning, like you're from a political family. You guys are in.
Yes and no. I mean, he did that for whatever, a year and a half, 2 years, however long it takes to run a campaign. I was very
Sure.
young, but very aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he lost and got out of politics at that point. And
Mm.
he was on the school board in my district. And
Yeah.
he's always been involved in companies and whatever. So
Sure.
he's a leader by nature. And so I definitely grew up with that example. And my mom is very much a leader in her own right and was the president of the PTA and
Yeah.
is always getting things going. So when you have
Sure.
parents like that, you don't really have a choice. Like, because you're just brought up to be like, don't take no for an answer. Don't let
Yeah.
anybody like push you around. If you've got something to say, you might as well say it. So you just
Right.
go out into the world and you're like, everybody wants to hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
Get into
Interesting.
a regular job and they're like, actually, we'd prefer if you could just don't say
Tamp it.
anything.
Tamp it down a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
So
Gotcha. Now you and I met because of Wendy Jean Wilkins.
we did.
How did you meet her?
So I don't even think she remembers this, but
Hmm.
I think the first time I went to West Side Comedy after I moved back for a mic, and I'm sure my name got pulled because I was new or whatever. And I
Sure.
was standing next to her. And I remember I was like, this sounds bad, but I was like, okay, there's this middle-aged lady here. She's
Yeah.
here to do comedy. Like, she must be a teacher or something. And she like, and this is
Yeah.
just how she gets her angst out. Because there's a lot of women or people who are middle-aged who just do it on the side.
Right.
And I
Now,
remember
where's West
meeting
Side
her.
for those listeners and
Yeah.
viewers who have no idea about the LA comedy scene? Where's West Side Comedy Theater?
West Side Comedy is in Santa Monica in an alleyway that you have to be
Yeah.
very careful when you are going to and from your car.
Right. Yeah. Super sketch, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. But Chris Gorbos that runs it is fantastic. It's honestly, it's one of the better clubs, I think.
Yeah, it's a great club. And Neil Brennan now is doing shows, well, before the pandemic times, he was doing a show every Tuesday, right? Right before the open mic.
He was, yeah. Adam Sandler actually dropped into the open mic one night. I don't know if you ever heard that.
I did hear about that. It was one of the nights that I did not want to go down, and that's always the way, you know?
Yeah, it was fun. It was funny. I walked in, and the door guy, who's my buddy, I was like, what's going on? He's like, Adam Sandler's on stage. And I was like, don't mess around with me right now. I was like, it's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. He goes, why don't you just go look for yourself? Okay, I see that you're serious now. Thank you.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I would have been like, okay, I can't handle another impression of Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Oh my God. Exactly. And then of course, like the people who went up before him at the mic are like, I opened for Adam Sandler. And I'm like,
yeah, right.
Did you, or were you just there?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Claim that you open for him, and then you disappoint everyone in the audience after they see your set. Exactly. Oh my gosh. So how long have you been doing stand-up now?
I am in my 3rd year, almost well, let's see, it'll be 4 years next June.
Got it. So what was the catalytic moment for you? Why the first open mic?
So I took a couple classes, but I took a 10-week class, which I mean,
or I guess why the class then? Why the class?
Well, I was too afraid to go to an open mic by myself. I think just like the protocol of what it is and what it entailed, and I wanted to have something written before I went, but I wasn't totally sure how to write a joke. Like, I'm very funny and engaging when I tell a story.
Sure.
And so I was in my head, I was like, I'm going to be like Chappelle, because Chappelle makes it look so easy, right? Of course he does.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go and write these great stories about my life and get up on stage. And I took the class and I started doing that, and nobody was laughing.
Yeah.
And they're like, so you kind of have to have a punchline, like you have to have like a rhythm to it. And that honestly took me a lot longer than I wanted it to, but then I was so focused on it that it finally clicked. And it didn't take long after that. After that, I was like, okay, God, there's a formula. You can still get the story across. You just have to, hold people's interest.
Yeah.
And so I took the class, and then you go to a couple open mics. And in Portland, a lot of people will tell you the Portland comedy scene is really good. And I think for some people it is.
Sure.
I think I didn't really find myself relating to the culture of the Portland comedy scene. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it as like, if I still lived in Portland, I don't know that I would do comedy. I just don't know that it was my group of people. Something about it just felt off. And so I would kind of go intermittently to mics, and then I signed up for another class because I really liked the structure of I was good enough at school that structure, I'm like, okay, cool, I can do this.
I get this.
This makes sense.
Right.
And then I go to a couple more mics, and then I came down here. Well, no, actually I went to visit a friend in Tucson, and somebody gave me an email address of Laughs Comedy in Tucson. So I emailed them, and I was like, hey, I'm a comedian. Here's my tape from my showcase. Can I do a guest spot? And they said yes, which was,
wow.
I was like, there's no way it's that good. Like, either somebody thinks I'm hot, or they feel bad for me, or they're high when they watch the video.
Sure.
Like, I don't know what it was. I'm not sure it was the comedy. I was okay. I had a couple jokes. Okay.
I mean, it had to have been the comedy, because it's so difficult for women, right, in the comedian industry. So it had to have been that you were funny.
I think I don't know.
That had to have been it.
I think I had a couple good jokes. Like, the set wasn't a
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, sure, come down. So of course then I'm like crapping my pants. I'm like, okay, I've got to come up with 5 minutes. I'm doing this club. It's going to be so like the Laughs Comedy in Tucson's a great club. Great club. And so I go, and I actually meet, do you know Paul Moomjean?
Yeah, Paul
Yeah, you
Douglas
do. We did a
Moongean.
show. We've done a show.
Yeah,
So that's how I met Paul, was in Tucson.
no kidding.
Yeah,
Sure.
and of course Paul's not gonna not introduce himself to me,
Yeah,
right?
right,
So
right.
so we chat and he gives me his contact info and he's like, next time you're in LA, let me know if
Yeah.
you want to hit some mics or whatever. So I flew down to LA and of course, because I was an idiot back then, I was like, I'm gonna do the Comedy Store open mic
Sure, and crush it and just
because
get
I
booked.
have the best 3 minutes in all of Los Angeles. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So we show up. My mom was with me.
Oh,
Paul met
wow.
us there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sign up for the open mic. And I'm so stupid because I have more self-respect than this, but I wore like a low-cut shirt and I
Beautiful.
did my hair and I did the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And so of course I got picked. I got
Of
picked to go
course you did.
second or whatever. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is it. This is my moment, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Here we
it's so
go.
stupid. It's like embarrassing to even tell, really. I should have left some details out, I think. So I
This
go
is
on
great.
stage.
Yeah.
Theo Vaughn is hosting. So it was before he kind of started to take off.
Right.
And of course, I'm like, Theo's cute no matter who you are. Like, first, you're like, oh, okay, cool. You're a cute, funny, engaging guy. So
Sure.
you're like, okay. So you do it, and he's shakes my hand as I'm getting off stage. He's like, that was really funny. And I'm like,
Thanks.
okay, that's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool. I didn't run the light. Like, I didn't completely screw up. There's 4 people in the room, whatever.
Right. Right.
And I'm shaking.
Right.
And so then it's just funny because other people were like, well, Theo probably wanted to sleep with you or whatever. And like, that's how that stuff works. And they're just
You're like, yeah, that's fine.
and I'm like, hopefully Theo never watches this episode because I never thought that I wasn't,
Yeah.
I was in such a comedy mode. I was like, I'm going to nail this. 10 people
Right.
could have asked me to sleep with them and I would have been like, are you kidding
Sure.
me? I'm here for the jokes, people. Okay.
Yeah. We'll see how the set goes.
Yeah. So it was just funny. And like, my mom was really happy and that was nice.
Good.
My parents are very supportive. So
Yeah.
it's really nice. So that was fun. So from there, it just sort of worked out.
Right. But like Adam Egget didn't pull you off to the side after your set at the Comedy Store.
Oh, no. I'm guarantee you to this day, he doesn't know who I am. I mean,
Which may be a blessing.
Tony.
Maybe a blessing,
Yeah.
maybe a curse. Who knows?
I've done Kill Tony. I don't know if you know this. I did Kill Tony. Then I got on Potluck the following week. No,
Yeah.
then I had a week off where I didn't get pulled for anything. Then I got
Yeah.
on Potluck.
Yeah.
Then I got on Potluck again.
Jeez.
The second set 2 weeks in a row. So in
That's
a month,
crazy.
I was on Comedy Store stages 3 times, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were looking for. I don't know if somebody screwed up and put my name on twice. It was very
It's the
weird
luck.
because
Luck of the draw.
I went back this week after I got on Potluck and I was like, okay, I'll sign up because my friends wanted to go. And so I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll sign up because I'm here. But I don't expect to get on. And then somebody walks up to me and they're like, your name's on there. And they were like mad because they knew I got on it the week before. And I was like, I don't make the rules here. Okay. I don't know if you know, but this place has been here for a long time. There's a documentary. Okay. I'm just here. I don't know. So
yeah.
I'm not sure. I would love to know. I'll never get an answer, but
I'm sure in the afterlife, you'll find out what that was all about. And
maybe,
do you believe in an afterlife or no?
I believe I'm more of like a nature person. So I sort of believe in like the energy of the universe and that things are sort of like, I think to some degree magnetically connected. And I don't necessarily I wouldn't call it praying. I think it's more like intentions. Like, I think when I check myself, I'm like, what are my intentions? Are my intentions negative? Are they positive? Are they, putting me in a position to be more successful in life? Are they setting me back? Like, to me, it's more about like, am I happy? Am I not happy? How do I get there? I wouldn't say I really like pray, but I always am sending good thoughts to people and stuff like that. And the occasional bad thought. I mean,
Sure. Like that person who was chastising you for getting picked 2 weeks in a row on Potluck.
No, I would never. No, not that person. But maybe
you're fine with them. Okay.
Maybe like certain people that live
the white straight cisgender men who shushed you in meetings. Those ones.
Yeah, maybe some of them, maybe some of the people in power right now,
Ah, boy.
people
Some of
who
the people
really
in
make the
power.
decisions. Yeah. So,
Right, 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 right.
so yeah, I mean, I'm not super religious. I grew up going to a church I grew up in a town called Wilsonville.
Hmm.
And in the church, there was a United Church of Christ. So, as I'm sure you're familiar, that's a church that just accepts
Everybody.
everybody.
Sure.
Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from,
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
And the pastor that I had for my whole upbringing. So it got to the point where we would go to church every Sunday and that was fine. And then it got to a point where my dad also wanted us to learn how to play tennis.
Okay. I can
So
respect that. I'm a tennis player
yes.
myself. Yeah.
Oh, we should play.
We should. That'd be fun.
Yeah, super fun. I have free courts right by my house.
Unbelievable. Let's set it
Yeah.
up.
And so he was like, you can either go to church, and he grew up Irish Catholic. He goes,
Uh-huh.
or you can go play tennis.
Yeah.
You have to choose. They're both at 11 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah.
And you let me know which one would be more beneficial to you.
Both equally valuable.
So
Yeah.
my brother would throw a fit about both.
Okay.
And I was always like, whatever, I'll go play tennis. Like, I
Yeah.
was good enough at it that it was fine. I was like, it's exercise, whatever, I'm not going to church. So
Right.
eventually we became the E&C crew, like the Easter and Christmas.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but
I have not heard ENC. No.
and then eventually we just became the C crew because
Yeah.
Easter we were all kind of like, okay, I don't know.
We
Like,
get it.
there's a bunny, but how does that relate to the guy up top? Like, I don't know.
Right.
So, and I think once you age out of Easter egg hunts, it's a little less
Yeah,
interesting.
if you're not in on the religious side,
Yeah.
once you've aged out
Yeah.
of the Easter egg hunts, it's basically over.
Yeah. So we became the Christmas Eve service.
Got it.
So we
Now,
would
would
go
they
on
do like the
Christmas.
midnight service?
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
that's pretty fun.
I still love that. I mean, I feel like it's a controversial thing to say now, but Thanksgiving was always my favorite holiday because I like it's convivial. It feels like community. Like,
Yeah,
people feel genuinely grateful. Like, Christmas has become such a consumer holiday.
right.
Like, in this country, it's a little weird to me.
Sure.
But I like Christmas Eve service because to me, that's what Christmas is sort of about, is like this welcoming of, like, whether you believe in religion or not, Jesus as a human being
Yeah.
was a really good person and brought things forward that I guess people at that time really weren't sure how to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
And the goodness to it. I mean, I have a pretty high moral code for somebody who's not a churchgoer. At least that's what I've been told in my life.
Okay.
I've been told by many, many people, they're like, you're such a good person and you don't like really believe, or you don't go to church. Like, how is this possible? And I'm like,
Right.
it is possible. I don't know how to explain it to you, but it is possible.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, I mean, few commendations on your part. One, you took potluck very seriously the first time you did it, which is great, because I've been there many weeks where I see people get picked and they're like, "Oh, I'm from out of town, blah blah blah,"
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like, "Hey, kill yourself, okay?"
Mhm.
Because some of us come here every week for years and we're not picked. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Second, you are a good person. A little intimidating, I will say that.
What? No.
No, you're very nice. And you're, good person despite religion. Or despite the lack of religion. I'm kind of in that crowd of people that's like, I don't get why I pick on atheists in particular. People who don't believe in like anything,
Mhm.
even to be so certain that there is nothing, and they're still good people.
Mhm.
I feel like they're wasting their
Mhm.
time. They should just be,
I
self-interested,
yeah.
Adam Smith economic people,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like on some level, people who are like, yeah, I'm an atheist, are sort of lying,
Mm,
because I think, or maybe they haven't been faced with something that's made them question their mortality.
mm-hmm.
Like, I think maybe one thing that people who are really attached to religion, they might feel their mortality a little bit more. I think maybe there's more of an emotional connection to whatever that is for a person. I would say I'm kind of in between, because I'm like, okay, if I get really sick or I think I'm going to get into a car accident, then you're kind of like, okay, something prevented that from happening, right?
Yeah.
Like, something, something happened, whether it was a chain of events and there is no God or whatever, but there is something.
Sure.
And I think so to say that you're atheist, you don't believe in anything, any energy, any, I feel like probably a lot of people who would say they're atheists study astrology. So it's like, do you really believe that? Like they're like, but I'm a Virgo. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So you do believe in something because you're letting like your horoscope dictate a lot of, I think, what some people in religion are letting them like dictate for them. So
right.
I think it's really hard for people to not believe in anything because I don't know. I think maybe atheists are just control freaks and they think they have control of everything, but
yeah, I don't know. In my limited discussions with atheists, some of whom are really good friends of mine, it is not at all about. I mean, I guess it might be related to control, but it's more like I'm in control of my own life, and maybe that's what you're talking about. Is like there's not a God that's controlling me. There's not a universe that's controlling me. Some of them though just find it, it's like liberating. I might not even be in control of my own life because there's just pure chaos and nothingness. So, I just do what makes me happy, and what makes me happy is what makes other people around me happy, and that's why I'm a good person. And I mean, like I said, that makes no sense to me. But I don't know. I also think, a lot of people who are true atheists dislike or at least look down on religious people as being, stupid or quaint or archaic in some way. And I think, maybe you should be grateful that they have religion at all, because who knows what they would be without it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think about that a lot. Yeah, I definitely, I have a couple Mormon friends who were trying to explain to me why Mormonism was important to them and why they were Mormon, hoping that I was going to jump on the bandwagon.
Sure.
And
I mean, that's the whole reason I do this podcast, but that's fine. Keep going.
Is it really?
No.
Oh, I was like, I get it. Like, you guys all have like an agenda. It's fine.
Yeah. We always have a project.
Yeah, I understand. That's how you get your planet when you die, right?
Right. I mean, that's one way. That's one way.
There we go.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard about the planet thing, and I was like, I'm sorry. What? Did somebody play a mean joke on these people to get their money? Like, that's how, that as a child, that was my...
No, I mean, look, as far as like, if we're going to go with all religions made up, if you're going to make up a religion, why not go big? Why not give people planets, right? Sure. I mean, I feel like if all religions made up, Catholics kind of messed up. They should have been promising planets from the beginning.
That's so funny. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, it's a great point. I forgot what I was saying, but
well, you were saying some of your Mormon friends were trying to explain to you why they like.
Oh yeah, they
Mormonism.
basically told me that they don't think they would be a good person without religion, and
sure.
I think there's two sides to that. I think on one hand, you have to have enough confidence in yourself that you can be a good person no matter the situation. So when somebody tells me that they wouldn't be a good person without Mormonism, it kind of makes me think like, well, maybe you're not really a good person at all, because you're just fooling yourself into following a set of rules. And if that weren't the case, it would just be the purge every day in your life. Whereas like, I don't necessarily believe in something organized, but I still wake up every day and I want to make good decisions. And like, I didn't really get into trouble as a kid. I wasn't like out drinking and doing drugs. I did very little underage drinking. Like, it was just, I think it was like having a conscience and understanding that your actions have repercussions and they affect other people and they affect yourself and they affect your health and your happiness. And like, don't you want to be, I was kind of like, don't you want to be happy in life?
Sure.
And I don't like disappointing people. I think that's just my personality.
Yeah, it might be an oldest child thing. I feel very similarly.
Yeah, and I think my parents sort of punished with disappointment instead of like grounding. So they would just be like, "We're really disappointed in you."
Right. Oh, devastating.
Like, if they don't love me, then I have nothing.
Yeah, that's so devastating.
Yeah, but I also had a really solid family foundation. So people that don't have that, if they don't know the difference between right and wrong, religion might be something that really saves them. I don't, it just depends.
Yeah.
But I would like to think that all people could be good without it, but that's
without religion.
Ideal. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I like to think that too. I just think they're better with it. That's all.
So here's,
Uh,
can I ask you a question?
yeah, go for it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Okay,
What's the
okay.
deal with Mormons?
Well, it's not even that. So,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
you
Something else.
think
We'll wait. We'll wait.
you think I'm a good person. You've established that. Sure,
Yeah,
let's say that I am.
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
mostly am.
I mean,
I'm
I
not
think
hiding
most
anything.
people are decent people.
Yeah. So I guess my question for you would be, if I were Mormon,
Hmm.
how much better could I be?
I mean, infinitely better.
But I need some like concrete example.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so this would involve I don't know, right? Like I think you probably would not be necessarily a better person. Um, but uh maybe you'd be happier. Maybe
And
not though. Maybe there
and
would be so much guilt associated with religious stuff that you would feel worse about yourself given things you've done in your life, right?
mm-hmm.
Who knows? Um,
Because I went to
yeah.
Mormon church one time.
Oh, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
ironically on Easter.
Ah, that's great. It's a great Mormon holiday to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, not really, but it was funny
I mean, it's no
because,
different than any other Sunday.
well, Mormons don't, yeah, they don't, but they don't make a big deal out of Easter.
Yeah, I mean, not in our service. Usually there's some themed talks about the
Mm-hmm.
resurrection because that's what we
Mm-hmm.
celebrate at Easter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, even Christmas, our sacrament service for Christmas isn't
Mm-hmm.
always, a huge spectacular event.
Mm-hmm.
Usually there'll be a reading of Luke 2, I think is the specific chapter in the New Testament that
Mm-hmm.
covers the birth of Christ, the traditional Christmas story. Usually there'll be some thing like that or a reenactment. It's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
harder to reenact the resurrection of our Lord and Savior. So there's not much of that going
I
on
mean, they
Easter.
did, if they can do it with Tupac at Coachella, I think the Mormon church has enough money, they could
We could, but why waste our 100 billion on a projector?
That's a lot of money, dude.
It's a lot of
I
money.
have issues around that too. That's another
We did it.
conversation.
We did it. Here's the thing. We are ready for when tax exempt status goes away for a faith. We are set.
You're set for a lot of things. I think that's just one.
I think that's just one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, if the
Yeah.
apocalypse really does come, I'll tell you, just based on that number, I will convert.
It's time to get
Yeah,
baptized,
yeah,
Maria.
yeah.
It's time to jump in,
But
both feet.
it's not here yet. Okay,
No,
we'll see
it's
what
not here
happens
yet.
in November,
Right.
and then
Right.
maybe I'll call you. No, so
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
so when I went on Easter, they
Yeah.
handed me like the shorthand book of Mormonism, and
Okay.
I read
Like a
that.
pamphlet or
It's like I guess you've never seen it before. It's like a little book,
yeah.
and it's kind of got like the rules and regulations of just day-to-day practice. Very
Okay.
a little less religious and more of like, here's what you need to consider, like no drinking, no
Do you
tattoo.
remember
If
the
you
title of the book?
I don't.
Is it like
I
a for
also
strength of
know
youth or
it was in college, so we went to the like youth ward.
yeah,
So I think it was probably whatever is
to a
digestible
young
for
adult
young
ward.
people.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
I'm trying to think cuz the thing about Mormons is we're pretty standardized. There's a lot of things that
Mm-hmm.
everyone in the church does, knows, has. There's
Mm-hmm.
a set curriculum, as it were. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
a little bit miffed. I don't know which book you're talking
Ah,
about.
I gotcha. I got it. Okay.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, I
You
think
don't
I've
know.
named it. I think it's anyway. Go on. So they
Okay.
gave you
So
they
yeah,
gave you
so
this
they give you
pamphlet.
so I'm reading it, right?
Yeah,
And like I'm completely open-minded. I'm like, today is a day of open-mindedness and
beautiful.
whatever.
Right.
So and for anybody that doesn't know, Mormon sort of day of church on Sunday, the hour that we were there is pretty boring. It's not like going to
Sure.
Catholic church. It's not like going to a regular Christian church. There's not really any singing. Like it's very basic.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
And
some singing. We do like three
I don't know that
hymns.
there was any the day that I was there.
Oh
Or
my
if
gosh.
it was really bad.
That's
Like it was
abysmal.
like
They
yeah,
should
it
have
was
done some singing. Okay.
yeah. So I'm sitting
Did you take
there.
the sacrament while you were there?
No, I don't think there was one.
Okay. So then you went to a different hour of church. You were there for like a Sunday school.
Maybe. I
We
don't
do
know. It
three
felt
we do 3 hours of
yeah,
church,
I know
Maria.
that. I know
I
that.
mean, now we do 2, but when you went, it would have been 3.
Yeah, but the guys told me they were taking me to the best hour because I was like, look, if I'm gonna do this with you guys, like you gotta at least make it entertaining.
Yeah, and they didn't
Maybe
take you
it's
to
just a bad
sacrament
ward.
meeting?
Maybe it's
Maybe it
just,
was just a bad ward.
or maybe they did and I forgot. It was a long time.
Right. Okay. Anyway, not important. So you're
So
reading
I'm
it.
reading this book and I'm like, okay. And then it's like, if don't drink alcohol. And then the one thing that I did learn that day that I thought was interesting was the reasoning behind it was for your health. And I think at that point in my life, I hadn't really thought of it that way. I just thought of it as like,
Mm.
oh, they don't drink. They think they're
Some
so much better than everybody.
oppressive. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, because I think that's how it comes off to people. And when you're young, you're like, all you want to do is like figure out how
Drink
to
and
get drunk
party.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And I've never been a huge drinker, so that wasn't like my MO. But
Yeah.
and so I was like, okay, cool. They don't want to do it for their health. I understand some of that. Like they encourage people to eat healthy, which is funny because I feel like there's a lot of overweight Mormons. But
Yeah.
that's
There are for sure.
And then it was like, don't have any piercings besides in your ears, one hole in each ear.
Yeah.
If you have a tattoo, consider getting it removed.
Yeah.
And like, to me, some of that stuff, I understand, like, you have it in there. It's probably been like that for a long time.
Sure.
But I also feel like the fact that it didn't feel like you accepted people for who they were, that they had to then conform
Yeah.
on top of it,
Yeah.
felt, it's a little bit of a bummer. It's a
Sure.
little bit like,
Sure.
I was raised to accept people. And I remember, when we were growing up, gay marriage was a huge issue.
Yeah.
And my parents, because they were sort of politically involved, like we would have fundraisers at our house for the gay propositions and the gay marriage stuff. And we'd have gay people over. And my mom used to say to me, you might see two women holding hands there together, like they're in love, and that's okay. And that's just how it is. So don't be weird, like as a little kid, don't stare. And I remember my response was like, I was like, okay, cool. I don't care. Like my friends, like, I don't care.
Right. Whatever.
And so if you think about some of that stuff, as a child, you would never think otherwise until an adult tells you something is wrong. And it's two-pronged because, right, that's how you learn the difference between right and wrong. Like killing someone is the wrong thing to do. But helping someone helping someone is the right thing to do. But then there's all these things in the middle that are very subjective to, I guess, what is considered somebody's moral high ground. And I think the idea that if somebody's not hurting someone, but you still are asking them to change, like for me, that hurts my heart a little bit,
Yeah.
And so some of the stuff that I learned through some of my Mormon friends, I was like, it just hurts my heart a little too much to ever really take it seriously.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I can appreciate that. I think there's been some conscious moves to make it more of a change in mentality, especially surrounding homosexuality, because when all of that initially kind of hit the surface culturally in the United States, the Mormon Church, as far as lay membership goes, regular people, I think the message did get very confused. And it was like, hey, gay people are bad people. Like they're sinning and they need to, change who they are. And there has been, as far as I can tell, a pretty conscious move to no, people who are homosexual are good people. We do not support the choice of interacting homosexuality, right? Like having gay sex is not okay. Just like having premarital sex is not okay. But
so gay
with
sex
any
is
religion,
not okay even if you're married?
Right. Well, see, and that's where, right. So it's not okay even if you're married, because as a faith, we do not believe that marriage is between those of the same gender, a woman and a woman, or a man and a man. That marriage is between a man and a woman, or a woman and a man, if you
feel
want
about transgender people?
Yeah, this is another difficult, I guess, culturally now subject. I think transgender. First of all, I think both are very difficult life situations to have if you are, of my faith. Very difficult, right? So if you're a person who legitimately believes that, I'm in a male body, but I feel female, that's a very difficult position to be in. my faith puts a lot of stock and importance in gender. That gender is not a construct. It is not something that's culturally or societally created. It is God given.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I do think there are people out there who may be misgendered, right? That
Mm-hmm.
that biologically they are in the wrong body.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's possible. I think it's a very small number of people. I
Mm-hmm.
think in general, it's probably more linked to a mental, emotional, chemical imbalance or illness that I think a lot of actually science and data seem to suggest, right? Because a lot of transgender people are not necessarily happier, or at least the suicide rate doesn't change post or pre-op. It's a really tricky
But couldn't you
situation.
make that argument though about a man feeling like a man? That it's an
What do you mean?
like you could I mean, but you could say it's a hormonal thing, it's a chemical thing, it's a an illness. Like there
That
you
a
could make
man
that.
feels like a man?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make that assumption for just gender in general because hormones play such a role in like your identity and what goes on in the chemistry of your brain.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's funny you say my faith believes, but you don't say I believe. Are those two things different in any way?
No, not really. I
Okay.
think most transgender people I think do suffer from something,
Mm-hmm.
right? They might, for I guess this is where it's like I'm not judging them. So it's not like I'm going to interact with them and treat them like, oh, you're lesser.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also don't know that I don't know that I really believe that as many people who claim to be transgender are in fact, misgendered. I don't know though. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not up
Is
to me to judge, but
the element of gender in the Mormon church, is that heavily emphasized in the traditional context that you just described because of procreation?
yeah. Yeah, it's very heavily linked to procreation and our belief in the afterlife, right? And what leads us to get the planet, as you so callously put it. But yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So, um,
So are you
because
going to ask me about what about people who can't procreate in this life? Is
no,
that
I
where
wasn't
you're
actually
headed?
gonna. I was gonna talk like science is obviously so advanced. So you
Yeah,
can have a sperm donor. You can be a surrogate. You can
right.
like so if you're a trans person,
Yeah.
you could still carry a baby if you were once female and now male. If you're a
Hmm.
gay couple, you can be surrogate. Like these people can still have families and can still procreate. So I don't know,
Yeah. I mean,
the disconnect there is a little like old world versus new world, even though Mormon is still sort of a new world thing.
yeah, perhaps so. I think it's more an idea of there will be no surrogates in heaven. No, I don't know. I think it's the way I make sense of it is it's
Mm-hmm.
more attached to uh yeah, our divinity, right? That gender is um and I think biologically it is something that is integrally important. So even if you're dealing with a surrogate, you're dealing with someone, right? If you have a gay couple, you need a woman to have a baby. Regardless of how you want to split it, there has to be a woman involved.
But you don't have to have sex,
No, no, but you have to have
and you don't have to be
a
married.
conception. You have to have a conception. I mean, because science makes certain things possible, I don't think means that it makes certain things, morally or religiously correct or allowed, you
Yeah, I
know?
just don't think it's morally incorrect if everybody is in agreement and nobody's being hurt. I don't think that makes it morally incorrect for me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think if I the other thing is the way that you're describing it now, it makes Mormonism sound like a business transaction.
Mm.
So if you the way
In
I
what
was
sense? Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean?
because it's like, okay, you have to be straight, you have to be married, and then you have a
Yeah.
baby. and I felt this way for probably a very long time. This is one of the first things I learned about Mormons was you get married, you have a ton of babies, and then
Sure.
hopefully when you die, like things work out for you. And
Yeah.
I mean, like as a kid, that's like the first thing you realize because you're like, okay, these people go to this church that I will never go to, and
Yeah.
there's like 15 of them,
Yeah.
like why is that so different?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so to me, it's very, very much like a business transaction of like, how do we create the most people on the planet for world domination?
I mean, isn't
And
that what it's always been about?
yeah, I mean, I think for
Yeah.
Mormons, sure. I don't think outside of that, I think Catholicism is somewhat like that. I think there's a couple other, like when you get into some of the really serious religions, yes, but I think your everyday person
Yeah.
in the modern world, in the Western world now, is not operating that way.
Right. Well, I think most members of the faith, like I'm not operating that way. I'm not trying to make as many people to
But
take
you have a
over
few.
LA. We have a
You have a
few.
few.
We got a few. We got three
Yeah, you
kids.
got a
Three kids.
few.
We're doing our part. No,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of like create as many people as possible. There's no mandate or directive from leadership of the faith to have a certain number of kids or to have any kids at
Mhm.
all. It's
Mhm.
obviously encouraged, both
Mhm.
socially and I guess theologically encouraged to
Mhm.
have kids.
Mhm.
Um, no, I mean a lot of this as far as like gender and sexuality, a lot of it is really based on on my belief in a document called the Proclamation of the Family,
Mhm.
which talks about and highlights gender differences and the importance in gender for the eternities. And I think there's a lot of stuff that we deal with in this life that is imperfect because we're in an imperfect world.
Mhm.
But I think as far as the afterlife goes, people are going to kind of pick where they're going to be happiest.
Mhm.
And I think there will be some things that will be different in the afterlife. I don't know how many people will be homosexual in the afterlife versus
Mhm.
this life. Some
Mhm.
probably still will be.
Mhm.
Some might not. Same with transgender.
Okay, so here's the other thing
Yeah,
is obviously like with religion, you're choosing to believe a lot of things that are not materialized, right? Like
sure.
you're just it's literal faith.
Yeah,
And so I think the idea that you do all of these things here and it will make your life after whatever happens after
mm-hmm.
better, that there's such a belief. Okay, so oh god, this is an epiphany I just had. So
Yeah,
there's such a belief that what you do here is going to affect what happens after, and
yeah,
that's to a point where it's almost more important, the afterlife, than the life here.
yeah. I can see where that comes. Yeah, yeah,
And so the thing that is unfortunate about that for me is you're leaving, there's a whole group of people right here. There's
sure.
a whole planet full of wonderful, mostly wonderful,
Absolutely.
caring, kind. Like I argue with my dad because I say most people on the planet are average at best. Because I
Uh-huh.
think the reason average exists is because it's the majority.
Yeah,
And so, and he always goes, I think most people are good. And I said, I think they're average. I think sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. And
sure.
he's an idealist and I'm a realist. And so I think
Yeah.
the idea
Or a
that you would,
pessimist.
I think I'm a right in the middle. I don't think I'm a pessimist. I
Yeah.
think if I said most people are bad, that would be,
Right. Well, of course. Anyway, yeah, yeah, yeah. Go on.
yeah. So I think the idea that you're sort of foregoing, for example, transgender people or homosexual people or, tribes in Africa that are not Mormon or whatever it
Mm,
is, because whatever's going to happen for you, which isn't even guaranteed, you have no proof to
sure.
some, like I
Sure.
think people can argue that they know, but really there's no material proof.
Yeah.
It's like it's sort of like you're leaving a job undone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
And
I
I
mean,
and I
yeah,
think Mormons, for example, I mean, obviously I don't know the ins and outs, but
sure.
I think Mormons are generally a group of people who like to help. They're family oriented. They're happy for the most part.
Yeah.
Like I think if you meet a Mormon person, that's kind of going to be your first impression. You guys are very well trained.
Sure.
You're good
Yeah.
people.
Put on
You're
a good
encouraged.
facade.
You're. It's nice. It's good.
Yeah.
It's warming, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that's how you get a lot of people to convert. But uh,
Initially, sure.
yeah. So it's like, why not make the world that you're in a better place? Because the stuff that isn't guaranteed,
Yeah.
you may never know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in our defense, we do try to make the world that we live in a better place. I mean, my church does donate a lot of money. Granted, we have a lot more saved up, but we do donate a lot of money around the world. There's always, every hurricane season, there is a whole platoon of people of my church who go to the southeast of the U.S. and help clean up and rebuild. Um, yeah, I mean, I think theologically we are not abandoning people who are homosexual or identify as transgender at all, nor are we abandoning people who live in Africa and never hear about Jesus.
Hmm.
They're all included. The temple that your parents were so generously allowed to go through during the
Hmm.
open house, that's one of the main things we do in those buildings after they're dedicated, and then we don't let anybody go in. We do this really weird thing, right, called baptisms for the dead, which is baptisms by proxy for people who have already passed
Hmm.
away, because we
Hmm.
believe so strongly in an afterlife and in our ability to choose both in this life and in the life to come.
Hmm.
We give people who have passed on the opportunity to accept being baptized into the faith.
Hmm. The last time I asked this question years ago, the answer was no. If you're gay, are you allowed to be a member of the church? Because I
Yeah,
know before it used to be you could come and you could participate in all things, but you
sure.
couldn't be an actual member.
Yeah, so this has, I think, at least my understanding is some of it has been in flux. I think it's always been the case that if you, okay, so let me start with this, right? We do, to be blunt, we do look at homosexual activity, that is, homosexual sex, as a sin. Like, we view that as a sin. Just the same way we view premarital sex as a sin, or
Hmm.
smoking, or drinking.
Right.
And obviously, a person who smokes and drinks can be a member of our faith.
Hmm.
There are, they probably won't be allowed to go through the temple.
Hmm.
And all of that is also true for those who are members of the faith and homosexual. The issue is we deal, you have um, the identity of the person, which is like,
Hmm.
oh, hey, I have same-sex attraction.
Hmm.
And then there is the action on same-sex attraction. So
Hmm.
in my church, we talk about it as like, you can be tempted and not succumb to temptation, and you're just as great as everybody else, right?
Hmm.
If you have temptation and then succumb, well, then you need to repent, and then you're as great as everybody else. And
Hmm.
that's the way, I guess, to be callous, that's the way we view homosexuality. So people who are, we talk about it really as, suffering from same-sex attraction. So that's your temptation, right? You're confronted with this temptation all the time, just like straight people are confronted with premarital sex and infidelity as temptations all the time. And just because you have that temptation doesn't make you a bad person. If
Hmm.
you succumb to that temptation, you're still not a bad person, but you now need to repent.
Okay, so I have to ask you another question.
Yeah.
I love the way you answer questions, by the way, because it's like a real discussion.
Yeah, good.
It's not, it doesn't, I don't know. It's just some people don't know how to do this. So
Well, I'm not
I'll
trying to
give you credit.
apologize for what my faith believes, or for what I believe, right?
Right, for sure. So I guess then, so there's two gay people. They're in love, they have sex.
That's great. Congratulations for them.
Wonderful. Right.
Yeah.
Um, does it ever make you sad that you are a part of a religion that, like, you don't accept that there's love there, like that there's consensual, like, to
Yeah.
me that's like withholding love. Like, love is physical, love is emotional, love is like something that's really hard to find. It's very
Sure.
elusive for a lot of people.
Sure.
And if you take the male and female, the gender thing away for a second, the idea that if there's gay people who are going to watch this episode and they hear you say that, it's like, I know, I understand, like in other things you said tonight where you're like, I don't judge you, but then at the same time it is a sin. So there is judgment to some
Well,
degree.
not by me, by God. But yeah, no, fair
Right,
enough.
but
Yeah. No, I understand. I think I
it's
understand what
sad.
you're
I think
saying.
it's a little bit like, it makes me sad when you say that, because I just think that there should be a universal acceptance of love,
Sure.
regardless of
Yeah.
in a person that's not hurting anybody. And so I just wonder if you ever have moments where you're like, you know what, I know I'm supposed to believe this and I get it, and I want to be on this planet with my family for eternity, but I wish I could change some things about my church that would make it so for all people.
Yeah. I think, again, it comes back to this idea of gender being so important and its ties to procreation being so important. So first, I don't deny that gay people can love each other and that is a beautiful thing. Love is great. Love is love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love is love is love. I mean, part of me is sad that they have to endure this life, feeling on the outside of society, feeling judged, feeling oppressed. I mean, that part is sad. Absolutely. My belief in the afterlife is that if they're tempted with homosexuality in this life, or if that's their struggle,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel like that will be corrected in the afterlife, unless that aspect of themselves is so important to them that they don't give it up. Just like a temptation or a struggle any of us have, right?
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it might be, I don't know, they love just having orgies. I have no idea,
Sure.
whatever it is for people that's like, well, this is who I am, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
am someone who swears a lot. I don't know. And that
Mm-hmm.
I would have to give up in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can give that up. That's really part of who I am. Sort of like a comedic persona. It's like
Sure.
how many sacrifices on a comedic persona can I make and still make everybody out there laugh? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So wait, so okay, so I have like the ultimate question I want to ask you, but I want to ask you one more question first.
Sure.
So if, let's say that you had an out of body experience and you died and you came back, like let's say
Yeah.
you got to visit the afterlife, right?
Yeah.
Like total
Love it.
a Christmas story, whatever.
Yeah. It's a wonderful life.
Yeah. And you got there.
Yep.
And
It's just a
they
bunch
were
of
like,
gay
hey,
people.
guess what?
Yeah.
You guys have been doing it all wrong down there. We've been trying to tell you.
Sure.
And it's a lot easier than you are making it.
Yeah.
What would you do when you came back to the present? What would you do? Would you tell anybody? Would you try to change things? Would you?
Yeah, I mean,
would you agree?
Sure. I mean, okay. So part of me wants to take this question not seriously at all, but I'm going to take it seriously. Okay. Because that's how much I respect you, Maria.
Sure.
So, okay. So I have what I believe to be a legitimate out of body experience. I would pray about it and seek inspiration. That is, try to get in touch with Heavenly Father about, is that real? Is what I experienced real? Is that really heaven? And if so, what aspect of heaven is that? Because in the Mormon faith, heaven is huge. It is huge. And I don't know if any of your Mormon friends talk to you about the levels of heaven that we believe in. So it might be, and Joseph Smith is famously quoted as saying the lowest level of heaven is so good that if we really got a glimpse of it, we would kill ourselves to get there. That's sort of a paraphrase of his quote.
Okay.
So it might be that I was in the telestial kingdom, the lowest level of heaven, where, there are murderers and cheaters and just some of the people that we think are just terrible in this life. That's where they are. They're actually in the lowest level of heaven. and
Mm-hmm.
we would love to be there as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to here.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what I saw? Did I see the celestial kingdom where
No, I
all
think
of
you would
the
see the
people are
ultimate,
making?
whatever. I think you'd see whatever the ultimate is.
All right,
But
so I see the
if it-
celestial
heaven,
where
if
everyone's
heaven
making
is so
babies.
good that people would kill themselves, and people in the Mormon Church know that, why isn't everybody jumping off a building?
Because that's a sin.
Yeah, but you don't know. You could get there and be like, "Hey, look, guess what? It's not a sin. You
Yeah.
did it the most
No.
efficient way."
No, we know,
And
Maria.
I don't
We know.
know. That's faith.
But
That's belief.
I mean, to come back to your question, I would seriously seek truth, right? To know, is that real, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
the same way I feel about my faith, is that on par with the same feelings, right? If
Mm-hmm.
so, then yeah, I would feel morally obligated to write letters to the presidency of the church and be like, hey guys, we got to calm down. I would talk to, the bishop, the leader of the congregation where I go, be like,
Mm-hmm.
hey man, we are too strict. This is crazy.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I think so. I think so. I have a personal belief that a lot of people, okay, so like a lot of people in my faith are, I guess, in my experience, talking to people about this, some people are really hard on themselves. Some
Mm-hmm.
people are really easy on themselves. And I think
Mm-hmm.
both are going to be surprised in the afterlife. So that's kind of the way I view it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think some of us make certain aspects of getting to heaven too complicated, too hard. I
Mm-hmm.
think some of us actually simplify it down way too much. And there is, I think, some level of complexity to getting to heaven. Probably not as much as we think, but there's some. There's
Yeah.
some hoops we probably need to jump through.
Yeah, for sure. I think it too, it's all about what people can handle. Like
Yeah,
even I think with the pandemic, it's like people who wear masks versus people who would never put one on.
sure.
I think it's really about what they can handle.
Yeah,
Some people can't handle the mortality of if you get this virus that you can't see, you can't hear, you can't touch, and you're gonna die.
right.
They're like, oh,
Can't even believe that.
I already can't make my bills. My wife
Yeah,
left me. Like the idea
yeah,
that that would happen, they're just like, I can't do it.
right. But
So I think it's
often they're
that.
the same people that believe in God. So very,
It is,
very
but
difficult.
I think the country has fallen apart a little bit in
Mm,
terms of like how to measure things. I
mm,
think our measurement of stuff and some of our moral high ground has dissipated. I think it can come back. I just think there's been such an influx of negativity and hate and the fake news thing and the misinformation and just like there's so much out there and there's
yeah.
so many different ways to communicate things that people really need a main channel of information or maybe a couple where they can decipher things, but
Yeah.
there was a time when information was delivered in a more simple way and there was more peace.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons for that, right? It was also arguably a simpler time.
Hmm.
I think definitely one thing the internet did was make information almost infinitely accessible.
Hmm.
And that's, not everybody. I mean, think about, when you were a kid, did you want to know absolutely everything when you were a kid? No, but that's now available to everybody. And some
Yeah.
people are kind of at the mentality of a kid, right? They can only handle so much information. I think this is kind of what you're talking about with the mask wearing versus
Hmm.
non-mask wearing people. We can only
Yeah.
handle so much.
Yeah. And I'm so different because I like to know everything. Like
Sure.
I've been accused of being a know-it-all in my life. I try to scale it back, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but I I have like insane curiosity. I think most comics do. I think good
Yeah.
comics have a huge curiosity just for life in
Yeah.
general.
And we
And
should. We should.
right.
I mean,
So for
certainly
me,
writers do.
yeah, for me, I'm like, oh, there isn't anything I can't handle. Like, let me have it. Let
Yeah.
me go see it. I'll travel to this place. I'll go to a war zone. I don't care. Like, I need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
but a lot of it's hard for me sometimes to understand like the most simple person's life in a rural Ohio because I empathize with it, but I also know that I don't fully understand because the day to day is so completely the day to day of just what goes on in their head. Like forget the tasks.
Right.
What goes on up here is so different. So
right. And
don't know,
I guess really to get back to kind of the homosexuality, transgender stuff, that's the way I feel about that too. I can't even comprehend what they feel, experience. I don't know. I just don't know.
See, it's funny. I feel like I have more of an understanding of that, but I think it's because once you accept like love is love, as cliche as that is,
Sure.
I think it's a lot easier to get. And I think the thing that we've gotten away from in this country is just like knowledge and education, and the idea that the person living next door to you isn't supposed to be scary. Right now there's a lot of that of like, I don't know who's living next door to me. If they're voting for Trump, I'm like, I can't talk to them. And like it's funny because I'm obviously very outspoken and very liberal and very much a Biden supporter and all of that.
So gross.
And I've been
and
I've been outspoken about it on social media amongst friends. I have family members who are conservative. I've had more Trump supporters, family members and friends unfriend me and block me than I have done to anyone.
Yeah.
And sure, I might call them out, but I'm also happy to have a healthy conversation or argument or whatever, where I'm happy to hear your facts. I would love to hear a fact from the other side more than anything else. Like that would make my whole day. Right. But here's also my opinion. And they get so upset because they run out of, their argument runs out after a time. And then all they have left is to say, Trump 2020. That's how every argument ends. And then they block me. And I'm like, wait, that wasn't an argument. That was just that was just a word, you know?
Right.
So it makes me really sad because to me, that's a lack of empathy. It's a lack of education. It's a lack of knowledge, understanding, civility, I mean, that bums me out a bit.
Yeah, it bums me out too. I think, I mean, granted, I am more conservative minded than you are.
No way.
I am not, right. Shocking, right? I am not, a MAGA hat wearer or a Trump 2020 bumper sticker guy. I think, though, that coming from a religious background, there is a sense of callousness and attack from the left as well on, the religious mentality as being backwards, stupid, for lack of a better word.
I've seen that. Those are not the arguments I'm personally I'm having. Like, it's really just about fact and fiction more than anything.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah, and that's fair. I'm just saying that I think there's vilification on both sides, and it's sad to me that it's happening on both sides. And I don't know. I don't know that there's necessarily a who did it first issue, but it certainly has gotten to a point where, I agree with you. It's really bad. In the 2016 election, a really good friend of mine, also a Latter-day Saint, obviously, because like 98% of Utah is Mormon. But yeah, he unfriended me because in full disclosure, I did not vote for Trump in 2016. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So, even Steven.
Did you vote though? That's what's important.
I did vote. I voted for the
Jill
Libertarian.
Stein. Got it.
Gary, for who?
God.
Who'd you say?
I was to say Jill Stein.
Jill Stein. No, is she the Green Party person?
Green Party.
Yeah,
I think
no.
So.
I'm a libertarian. I'm actually a registered libertarian.
Wow.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
Truly amazing. My party is the best.
There's a bunch of people writing jokes about libertarians right now that I've been hearing that are fantastic.
Is that right?
I really appreciate that.
I would love
you gotta come to our mic. If you come and Jim Bruce is on, I'll make him tell the joke.
So please do. Okay, I'm gonna try to make it to the next one. I'm gonna try to make it to one of these.
Even if you come late, just come.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. I will. Yeah. So I don't know. What was I even saying? Who cares?
You're talking about how you're a libertarian.
Right before that, though.
Your friend in 2016.
Oh yeah, so I had
unfriended.
a friend who unfriended me because I made some comment about, the left being the open-minded party. There's so much vilification of those who voted for Trump that they only
Mhm.
do it for, one of two reasons. It's either they're racist or they're bigot. And so I said, from coming from I made like a tweet or a Facebook post or something that
Mhm.
basically just said, it's rich that the open-minded party is so myopic about why people vote for Trump, and he unfriended me for like a year. So
Wow.
it's all it's happening on all sides. I think it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. I think it's better to not unfriend. Like, I think that sort of seals the deal on some stuff. And people are like, it goes back to your thing about First Amendment. Like, I posted some stuff where I said, if you're voting for Donald Trump, you're a racist. And I think at
Yeah.
this point, the issue that I have around it is that I think there should be some things where if a candidate that you support starts to do some really bad stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
there's historical, like, you can say, okay, he did it here, he did it here, he did it here, he did it here, where it's
Sure.
like, okay, how many times are you going to let this go before you're like, wait a second, I need to use my better judgment here. Like, this is not what I believe in. Sure, you can be pro-life, but
Yeah.
if you're not, if you don't believe in racist ideals,
Yeah.
maybe think about that for a second, and like, which one is more important to you. I guess a lot of people have decided that the racism thing isn't that big of a deal, and there are other things that they think are happening that are better, but I still get to have an opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
And
course.
the thing that's crazy is that it's always the people commenting on my posts, it's not vice versa. And
Mm-hmm.
then people come after them because they say sort of ridiculous things, and then they can't handle it, so then they unfriend me, and I'm like, you came to the
Right.
party.
Right.
So if,
Right. And now they
like,
left.
yeah, and now you left, you saw yourself out, but you broke the vase in the entryway on your way out. So
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons people will vote for Trump in 2020. I think there are a lot of reasons people will vote for Biden in 2020, and not all of the reasons are great.
Yeah, I think,
For regardless of which party you follow.
but
But
I think we need to get some of, I think there's a lot of things right now that are upsetting, that don't
mm,
need to be upsetting and polarizing and hate. I think there's just feels very hateful,
yeah,
and I think it's been a very long time, maybe ever in American history, where it's been that bad. I mean, I think Nixon would be a decent example, but even then, it wasn't. This is just, we're so unhinged. Like, it's one
yeah,
thing if you have a bad president. Like, if you want to argue that Bush wasn't a great president, like, there
sure,
were a lot of things that went wrong,
sure.
but he wasn't completely like off the wall.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
I think
we can
in
we can only handle so much mentally, like, on a
yeah.
day-to-day basis.
Yeah, in full disclosure, I have this same argument with Josh Edelman almost twice a week.
So funny.
Um, yeah, I think dealing with Trump, you're dealing with really two separate issues. One is the person of Trump, which is a real problem, just
Hmm.
a real problem. And then you're dealing with the president Trump, which is also a problem, but I think less of a problem than the person Trump.
But I think the
Um,
person Trump gets in the way of whatever he thinks the president Trump is.
yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
shouldn't be cutting deals with the Democrats on Twitter about the stimulus bill. Like, that's not how you make a deal.
I mean,
Everyone knows that.
it wasn't how you make a deal, but now it's apparently a way to make a deal.
But I don't think that's going to be
It's not going to be
what
the
happens
way in
going forward.
2021. If Biden's elected, no, that goes away. That's no
Or
longer a
literally
thing.
anyone. I don't think any other decent person that would have the
Yeah.
stamina to even run for office would be like, yeah, you know what?
Yeah, no. Mike Pence, he's not going to be running
No.
deals over Twitter. No.
Yeah.
No, for sure not. For sure not. And I think as far as, policies or beliefs, I think there's a lot of, you can have and I think we have had kind of bad people as president for a while. I think arguably President Obama was a good person, and he was
Hmm.
probably the most recent good person we've had in quite a while. I don't think Bill Clinton was a good person. Was he a good president? Yeah, I think he was a good president.
Mm-hmm.
Is Donald Trump a good person? No, I don't think he's a good
No, I don't think
person.
he's a good person. I think that, yeah, I mean, I also just think the self-interest that's taken over politics
Yeah, I think that
is
was the issue though,
challenging.
long before Trump came into
Oh, for sure. I mean,
power.
but the whole reason Bush ran for office was,
I mean, the Bush dynasty, you know?
I mean, I don't think he wanted to run. But I think
Yeah, well,
it's
Jeb certainly
unfortunate.
didn't want to run.
Yeah, he's like, please don't hurt me. No, and I just think it's sad because I also do think there are some young people running for office at the
Yeah,
local level, at the national level, who
yeah,
really want to change that. And I
yeah,
think hopefully they run on both sides, conservative and Republican, and they're sane, and or conservative and liberal, and they're sane and they're normal, and that they want to do good and work together. I hope that there can be balance, because that's the whole point of living in this country,
yeah,
is to have a
yeah,
balance of power. And I think people forget that. Like, I am about as liberal as they come, and I believe in that. I don't believe
yeah, yeah. I think we're close to a big change, and I don't know if that means Donald Trump has to go another 4 years before we get there,
I
or if the
yeah.
Biden administration will bring it in. I don't know. I'm scared. I'm scared for this election, though. I don't.
Oh, terrified.
Regardless of who wins, it's going to be catastrophe for
Well,
the few weeks after the election.
I think if Biden wins in a landslide, like a true, like he wins Florida, he wins Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
and there's no contesting,
yeah,
I think Trump will throw a hissy fit, but I think he'll disappear. I think
yeah.
he'll just sort of
Well, he's not going to disappear,
I
but
don't
he
think he's
will
going to
concede.
disappear, but I
Yeah,
think he will self-implode for a while. I think he kind of already is. I mean, they've run out of money. You go to their website. I go to their website just to check on things,
sure.
and it says, if you donate today, we'll match your donation times 900.
Oh, wow.
That's
What
not
does that even
real.
mean?
That's not real. 900? 900. So if I donate, $1,000, you're going to put in $900,000.
Yeah, you should do
No,
it. You
you're
should
not.
test him on it.
No, but I don't understand why people aren't talking about that. I'm like, this is insane. You go to Joe Biden's website, they're like, please, today, we would love it. It would
Right,
mean so much to us. Like 20, 40, $60. Maybe you get a t-shirt.
right, right, right.
Today, we will match your donation times infinity. And you're like, okay.
Yeah,
Do I
yeah.
also get to ride on the rocket ship? Like, what?
I don't know. I mean, that's that's a very interesting. I
Oh,
did not know that. I don't
oh yeah.
go.
Go take a peek around their little merch store. It's like,
Wow.
if you don't like Trump, you probably won't like me. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my
I
gosh.
it's really entertaining. There's wrapping paper. If you have anybody you want to send hate mail to, you could get some Trump wrapping paper.
Wow. I mean, it's a great
It's good to do your
troll.
research.
It's
Yeah.
a great troll item.
Send it to Josh Edelman.
Whew. I gotta keep an eye out for his birthday. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Be a
Just do
great
it
gift.
after the election when the money doesn't mean anything.
Well, and assuming Biden wins. Because if
Yeah.
Trump is in power and I send Josh Edelman a Trump wrapped gift, I don't think he'll like me after that.
No, he probably won't, but he's a comic. He'd appreciate
I
the
think he'd
humor.
get a kick out of it after like a
Yeah.
year and a half.
Yeah.
He might come
That's
around.
okay. All I know is the amount of if Biden wins, the tension that will release in my body.
Sure.
I may die in that.
Yeah. I
Just,
mean,
whew,
you
it's
and
just a
every
countdown.
other social justice warrior snowflake out there is just gonna
You
totally
know,
release. It's gonna be an orgasmic experience for so many people.
I can't even get offended that you called me a snowflake, because when I was a child, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I
Of
wanted to
course
be
you
a
did.
snowflake and a hair cutter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
My
that's
dad was
great.
upset about the hair cutter one, not the snowflake.
Yep. I actually identify with your dad very much so. I feel like if either of my daughters came to me and was like, I want to be a hairdresser, no offense to hairdressers out there, but I'd be like, you can do better. Okay, sweetie,
It's
you
so
can
funny.
do better.
But I was like, look at my Barbie's hair. She's got a buzz cut now. And he was like, that's exactly why I will not let you.
Oh, that's great. Okay, my final question to you before we get to your real question about what's the deal with Mormons.
Yes.
Do you remember, speaking of hair, the pony? Do you remember the pony that had the like dreadlock kind of hair that you could like form? Just, no, was this not your
Like
time?
a toy?
It was a toy. No, it was a real horse. It was a real horse. Everybody had it. It was a pony. No, it was a toy. It was like a My Little Pony kind of. You did its
Was it
hair.
like just the neck and head?
No, it was it
Oh.
was a whole body pony with a
Oh,
tail and mane.
no, I don't remember that.
My sister had one, and
Hmm.
yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, that was great. Totally anticlimactic. Let's get to what's the deal with
Wait,
Mormons.
you don't have another question then?
Well,
That was not a real
that was it.
question.
That was just about the.
Okay, wait, did you really think I was intimidating? Be honest.
I think all women are intimidating because I respect women. No, I felt like when I first met you, it was outside of, if I remember right, I think it was at West Side actually,
Mm-hmm.
and Wendy introduced us.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you just saw my wedding ring or something, but you were like, not interested.
I said that?
No, you didn't. You were very nice.
Oh,
You were very nice. I'm just saying, I think
so
most women
funny.
are not interested in me once they see my wedding ring because they know, oh, he's taken.
Oh,
Why deal
no,
with it?
I'm not out like trolling for dick
Come
at
on, every
open
woman's on the
mic.
prowl all the
Oh my
time.
God, no, not at all. That's so funny. Just because I'm friends with Wendy doesn't mean I have uncontrollable horny rage.
Oh my gosh, Wendy's
No,
fantastic.
I think
No, you were very
whenever,
nice. You were very
yeah.
nice.
And I don't know if you told me or Wendy told me you were Mormon. I was kind of like, oh, cool. There aren't
Yeah,
very many Mormon comedians. And like I've said tonight, I have a respect for Mormon people because I grew up with them. So,
right, right. No, Wendy
if
usually
anything, I was
introduces me
excited.
as the Mormon, so it's
Yeah.
great. It's a good icebreaker. Uh,
No, it's
yeah, no,
good.
no, I wasn't intimidated by you.
Okay,
No, you
good.
were very nice.
I've gotten that before. So
Sure.
it's more of a gut check for me.
And that's fair. I mean, that's before I was a stand-up, and even now, I'll make jokes with people that I don't really know, and if they don't laugh, I'm like, great, we can't be friends.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's just
That's
not going to work out.
fun in dating. You be happy you're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I'm so
Um,
glad. Although it might come back. I don't know.
really,
I mean,
that's not recommended where you come from.
probably not, but maybe, maybe. Polygamy has never been disavowed as an
Oh
evil
God.
practice by
Oh
the
my
faith.
God.
But
You can't be in California then.
what do you mean?
You can't be a polygamist in California.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be a polygamist anywhere in the country.
Well, isn't there a place in Arizona or Utah or something like a camp?
There is a colony in central Utah, but they are often prosecuted, and it's so troubling. Actually, Utah passed a law, not totally decriminalizing polygamy, but lessening the charge
Jeez.
for polygamy.
I guess Utah understands how hard it is for a woman to find a good man. So
Right. It's very
I get it.
difficult. But with speaking about gay marriage, with the way it is now defined legally, I don't think polygamy will be that far away in the future from being legalized.
Maybe. I think
Love
it's a
is
way.
love,
I think it's
Maria. Love is
Yeah,
love.
but I think it's a ways off. Like I think there are far more gay people than there are people who are like, yeah, polygamy, like really.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people who experiment with polygamy when they're young and
sure.
then they get older and they
I feel
like
like that's a waste
it's
of
a
time.
lot to manage.
It is a
I
lot to
think it's a
manage.
lot
I
to
cannot.
manage.
I mean, for sure, when I was 15, it was like that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, no,
Yeah.
this.
And like I think the structure of like gay marriage is so similar to straight marriage that like it's not necessarily more work. Like polygamy's like
There's some
scheduling your
organization needed.
wives. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what they say, all good things are worth working for. So,
Yeah. Okay, my question for
okay.
you.
What's the deal with Mormons, Maria?
What's the deal? It's
Bruggere?
hard. This has been a hard question to think about because I feel like I know a decent amount, like
Mm,
maybe a little more than your average person.
sure.
So I'm going to hit you with a hard one. I'll
Oh
give you an
boy.
option. I'll hit you with a
Okay.
hard one
Yeah.
that's a little bit more personal, or I'll
Okay.
hit you with like a really basic one.
Okay.
So first one is, was there ever a time where you've questioned being Mormon and thought, you know what, this is not it, and what
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah.
Or how do you feel about? I know you're gonna be mad when I say this. How do you feel about the special underwear?
Oh,
Do you wear it?
sure.
And like, what's your real opinion of it?
Yeah.
As just a regular, maybe not even as a Mormon, just sort of a regular person. Like, what?
It's great. I can't really tell which one's the more difficult question. Is the second one more difficult?
No.
First one is more difficult.
I feel like that's the obvious. Like the second one's like, oh yeah, everybody knows about the Mormon.
Right.
Garments.
Or if they don't know about it, they've heard about it.
Right.
I think the first one's actually easier for me to answer because there's a lot less kind of mythology surrounding it. No, I mean, I haven't ever seriously doubted my faith. I think that's just truly a blessing that I've had. I've certainly had tough times. I've certainly had times when I've questioned my standing with God, I suppose, is a way to put it. One of those times was while I was on my mission. I served in Eastern Canada, and I was just going through a tough time and not really finding many people to teach, people who were interested in the message. And there was one time in particular where we actually got thrown out. There was a guy that we'd been teaching for a few weeks. I'd been teaching him for maybe a month. And typically when you're teaching someone, you go over once a week, right? You give them a lesson and something to do for the next week. Usually it's like come to church and read the scriptures that we give you. And then we come back and let's talk about it. And we'll give you a little bit more of our basic doctrine. There was this guy that we've been talking to, and he'd been reading the New Testament. He was not willing to read the Book of Mormon. He wanted to read the New Testament, gain a better understanding of Jesus Christ. Totally respect that. That's great. And I remember he asked me or communicated something about Jesus Christ not being the Son of God, that Jesus was lying about that, or mistaken, or speaking more metaphorically. And I said, I don't think that's true. I think he was being very literal. That is part of our the Mormon faith, is that Christ was the only begotten of the Father, physically Heavenly Father's child. And he was like, he got very upset and threw us out of the house, actually. So that was like the only guy we were teaching, this small fishing village. I was super depressed. So yeah, I've questioned about it. I prayed about that, for weeks, wondering if I was wasting my time, and felt like, one night had this feeling that, are you, kind of the thought that came to my head was, are you doing your best? Are you doing your best? And as I honestly answered that question as yes, I felt much better about being a missionary. And that was about halfway through my mission. I've had friends who have left the church, good friends from high school who have left the faith, and I've just never seriously doubted it the way that they have. I don't know why.
The guy that sort of threw the book at you, so to speak, in that moment, did you start questioning, or were you frustrated after that, after he kicked you out, because he questioned you and he didn't just believe? Or were you frustrated that you had maybe approached it the wrong way and there was something else that you should have said?
Yeah, I think there was both. No. I mean, I think it was more. What I mean by both is what I was thinking in my head. So the latter half of what you said, I was worried that I'd made a mistake, that I'd been, too abrupt, too callous in the way that I talked to him, too insensitive, and that there might have been a better way to do that. I was worried about that. I was also just sad that he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to discuss why he differed in his opinion from what my opinion was. I was also sad that I'd hurt his feelings. Just as a human being, I was sad that, I don't like necessarily confrontation, especially when it's something that I've caused, So
That makes you a good husband.
Boy, does it. Boy, does it.
If you could go back and talk to him today, what would you tell him?
I would just say that I'm sorry that I offended you. You know, that time, I'm very sorry that I offended you.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it'd be the kind of apology that's kind of a Weasley apology. I'm not sorry really about what I said.
Mm-hmm.
I am sorry that it offended him, but I'm not sorry for defending my belief in Jesus and who I think Jesus Christ is.
Yeah,
There
but
might have been a better way to do it, but
I think you can still be sincere in your apology of hurting somebody's feelings without admitting that you think you were wrong or whatever.
yeah, I will say as a husband, there are some apologies that my wife and I make to each other that are more along those lines of I'm sorry you feel bad about what
Mm-hmm.
I said, but I'm not sorry for what I said.
Yeah, but I think
Which
that's
doesn't feel as good, you know, when you're hurt. So
no, but I think that's family too. I mean, I definitely have had that. I'm not married, but I've had that with family.
yeah,
What's your
yeah,
one piece of relationship advice you would give people?
yeah. Ooh. And then we'll come back to the underwear question.
Oh, you're gonna do both.
Yeah, let's do both. Heck yeah,
Okay.
heck yeah. I'll
All
answer
right.
the underwear question first. That one's probably quicker than I need to think
Sure.
about the advice thing. I do wear the underwear. We get the underwear when we go through the temple.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing, the other secret sacred thing we do in our temples. One of the other things we do.
Mhm.
It's called the endowment. That's the ceremony that we go through. It's really a promise that we make to Heavenly Father. And in kind of return, this covenant, we understand a covenant to be a two-way promise. So we promise to kind of devote our lives to Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother and Jesus Christ, and
Mhm.
they in turn, right, bless us with you know, various things, right? The ability, the whatever,
Mhm.
uh, moral fortitude to continue and carry on.
Mhm.
The physical symbol are the garments, the holy underwear. So we get those as a physical reminder of the covenant we make in the temple. And
Mhm.
yeah, so we're encouraged to wear them all the time, at least when it's you know, unless you're swimming or having sex or in the shower.
Okay,
Any
so I think some people think you're supposed to wear them when you have sex. So that's good. That's a good clear up for
Yeah,
your audience.
my mother is a marriage family therapist,
Oh, wow.
and she definitely had conversations with. So the only reason she told me this is so that I was not confused at all after going through the temple. You know, she was like, "Yeah, you should for sure take them off during intercourse." Um,
Yeah.
she dealt with a couple that left them on, they never got naked. This couple never got naked with each other. Unbelievable. Uh, Totally. There's so many other issues going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. And how do I feel about them? I will say this: they are not the greatest thing to get you in the mood, right? It's not a sexy underwear.
No.
Um, but that's not the point, right? That's not the point of them. Otherwise, I feel fine. They are easier for men to wear. You might be
Mhm.
surprised by this. They are easier for men and
No,
more
I've seen
comfortable for
them.
men than
Yeah,
women.
I've seen them. So.
Yeah, yeah. Most people could just find images of them on Google Images. Just
Well, it's funny because I mean, as I went to a Mormon wedding in
uh-huh.
Hawaii years ago, and I was one of two Mormon people who or one of two people who were not Mormon
Right.
at
Freudian
the
slip, I
thing.
understand.
And I just found like the whole weekend I was just watching because it was in Hawaii too, so you're not going to have it on all the time. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
let's see how loyal all these Mormons are. Are they going to wear it all the time? Are they going to
Sure.
wear it when they're at the beach? Are they going to wear it during the wet? You know, it's just funny. Like it was
Right.
the game I played in my head, and then I felt like such an alcoholic because I couldn't drink the whole weekend. We walked through a hotel and I could smell Mai Tais, and I was like, this is. You want to know what's a sin? Withholding from the non-Mormon. Okay, that's a
But
sin.
weren't you just so happy that week? Weren't you just happier than you've ever been in your entire life?
I did have a lot of fun
Yeah.
until the father of the guys I was friends with, that was the father of the groom,
Hmm.
really got into it with me about politics and finally said, "You're a guest in my house and I expect you to act like one."
Oof.
And I didn't appreciate that because he got into the conversation with me. And if he thought I was going to just like bow down to,
Sure. To the
I think you've probably
patriarchy.
learned in the course of the last hour and a half that that's not me.
Pretty unlikely. Pretty unlikely.
So,
Oh man, interesting.
mhm.
Boy, my piece of relationship advice. Oh my gosh.
Don't wear the Mormon underwear if you want to be sexy.
Wait, what's that?
He said, "Don't wear the Mormon underwear if you want to be sexy."
Invest in true lingerie.
Yeah,
Take some time to
that's
change.
so funny.
Yeah, take some time to get set up. Um, Man, I mean, I feel like the only real advice, it's kind of similar to like having kids. There's so many books and people willing to offer opinions on how to raise children. And I think the fact of the matter is you have to find what works for you because every kid is
Mhm.
different and every relationship's different. You have to find a way to joke with each other, be happy together. I don't know what that means, as far as like exactly what that is for you or for
Mhm.
anybody out there listening. But I think that's important. I don't know. Got to
Yeah.
do what makes you happy within the bounds the Lord has set.
Or just the universe.
Right, or just the universe.
I
Right,
mean, I
right, of
think
course.
communication is important, like all the things you just said. And I think that's the one thing Mormons are really good at in a lot of ways is communication.
Yeah, yeah, we
So
try. We practice with each other,
kudos to
with
you there.
Heavenly Father, and we
Feel
cover
like
it
we're
all. We cover it all.
conversing all the time.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Prayers in our hearts. I mean, that is, the kind of vitriol and the somewhat toxic environment. That's really why I wanted to do this podcast, Maria, is I didn't want to talk to people about politics because I get a little too heated about it. Um, Josh Edelman and I usually devolve into yelling at each other. And it's usually because I try to play devil's advocate and I shouldn't. I should
Oh
just be
man.
sincere with him. And I can't. I can't do it. It's just too fun to get him riled up. Um,
Funny.
yeah, I wanted to do this podcast to try to alleviate some of that. Religion's an important aspect of our lives, I think, at least spirituality, however
Mm-hmm.
we find happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we talk about important things in a way where we're listening to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like you said, with politics, that's 100% true with politics.
Right.
It's really too bad. And I don't know why people take so much of politics so personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what, in my estimation, that's what prevents us from talking to each other about politics in a sincere, productive way, is that we start feeling too, at least for me, too personally attacked or too personally involved for some reason.
Mm-hmm. It's funny though because I think at its core, politics is not an emotional subject. It's the things that swirl around it.
Yeah.
Like if you read a book about US history or you read a book about politics or like I'm reading White Fragility right now, which people laugh when I say that when
Yeah.
they listen to
Yeah.
this, but
I had to
it's
stifle a giggle. No, go
yeah.
on.
But the book, so you're reading about a very emotional subject. You're reading about racism, you're reading about how to handle it.
Yeah.
And I got through the first chapter and I was like, I feel so different reading this book because it's written in a knowledgeable, it's educated, it's informed. It's sort of textbooky, but not, and it's not a long book.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes the emotion out of if somebody's racist, like you're a bad person, you're this. It comes really down to like the fundamentals, and it comes down to fear,
Hmm.
and the two biggest emotions in human beings are fear and love.
Yeah.
I think and I think that politics plays into that. I think right now you could argue that Trump is playing into people's fears more than anything else.
Hmm.
I think he's playing into the fears of his own base. I think he's playing into the fears of liberals. He's got everybody terrified. Like it doesn't matter how you slice it,
Yeah.
everyone is terrified.
Yeah.
Um,
I do
and
think liberals are more scared of Donald Trump than his supporters are of liberals, but maybe
yes,
not.
I think that would be an accurate assessment, but I also think conservatives think that he's their security blanket,
Mm,
which couldn't be farther from the truth.
yeah. I mean, there
But
might be
they
some out there that
but
do.
they so
Yeah.
believe that he's like this business hero or whatever.
Sure.
The savior. I mean, if you go on his website, you can buy a coloring book of Trump the superhero, and there's like a
Yeah.
thing of
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. I mean,
So
he knows how to market. I'll give him that.
it's not good marketing. I mean, I work in marketing. It's not, you're not using your powers for good. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, people should be
Yeah.
using their powers for good. I
Sure.
think I have hopes that the Mormon church one day will get to a bigger understanding of how to
Mm,
accept all people and get to a point where they've
yeah.
navigated that a little bit better. And I hope that for all religions, but that's what we're talking about tonight. So
Right. 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 And I think there might be there I don't know, a disconnect or a misunderstanding because I don't think it's. I guess the way I view my faith is we are supposed to be improving ourselves. It's not about meeting people where they are and letting them stay there. It's
mhm.
about meeting them where they are and then raising them up. And that might sound bad that I'm talking about people kind of overcoming homosexuality, but I don't know. I mean, there are lots of people in my faith that believe one day homosexuals will be married in the temple. I am not there. I'm not there. I don't know. I don't know how theologically that would work. Um, but I do think there's a difference between loving and accepting people and asking people to improve.
Yeah, but isn't that kind of why prophets exist? Because they're these people that come down from
Yeah.
the heavens or whatever to
Or
help.
they're born like normal people. Yeah.
Yeah, or I mean, whatever it is,
Sure.
however they're supposed to appear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Out of the womb. But yeah,
yeah,
go on.
sure. From the planet, directly just shot down like an asteroid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I think those are some of the people, if you're going to look at religion literally and historically, that those are the people that come down to forward things. And so
Yeah.
somebody came down out of the womb and came out and said, hey, look, I'm here for the Morms. I got to teach you guys a few things. We're behind. Here's what's going on, and here's where we've got to go. Then there would be updates.
Yeah. I mean, we do have living prophets. We have a living prophet right now.
Who dat?
Who dat? Why am I blanking? This is so embarrassing. Why am I blanking on his
Wow.
name?
Must be a good
Oh
prophet.
my gosh. And we just had General Conference. Oh my gosh. This is one of those awful moments.
You just lost a planet.
Nelson.
You just lost a planet.
I know.
It's been
Oh
nice
my
knowing
gosh.
you.
Russell
I look
M.
forward to
Nelson.
your
Russell M.
conversion.
Nelson.
I
Unbelievable.
look forward to your conversion to Judaism next week.
Gosh, how
Right.
embarrassing.
I did
Russell
it. I
M.
cracked
Nelson.
the Mormon on his own podcast. Ladies and gentlemen.
Unbelievable. So we do have living prophets. I don't know any of them. Yeah, Russell M. Nelson is the current leading prophet, right? President of our church. We have a quorum of the 12 apostles. We do have prophets, right? So they might come up with that revelation that now homosexuals can be married in the temple. But again, I would struggle. I personally would struggle with that revelation. That would be a challenge to my faith, to my understanding of how gender works, of how procreation works, and of our identity. That would be a tough one. That would be a tough one for me.
Well, when that happens,
Yeah,
I'm gonna call you.
maybe, but it might not. What
See,
about if it doesn't?
I have faith.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. If that were the case, you'd baptize immediately, huh?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
Then it's not gonna happen, Maria.
we would have a very interesting. I know. Here's the thing is when people
Yeah.
want to convert you to anything, whether they want you to get to try the new Pepsi or whatever, it's
Right.
I want to be sold on every single benefit, to the point where, yeah, it's made up. I want to see how far people will go just to get me to try the can
Sure.
of Pepsi.
Well, I'll tell you what, you could have your own planet.
Yeah, see, that doesn't do it for me.
What?
That just
Have you not seen planets before?
I've seen them.
They're pretty awesome.
Sure, we don't know. We kind of know. We don't know. We
I
sort of know.
mean,
Not
come
really.
on. You could make your own, though. You can make it whatever
Oh,
you want.
can I ask you one more question?
Nope, we're out of time. No, yeah, go for it.
Do you believe in dinosaurs? Do you believe
Yeah,
dinosaurs are real? Okay, so I knew
yeah.
a Mormon girl in high school growing up, and she's a fantastic human being,
Oh, no.
but she did not believe that dinosaurs were real. Is that a
Sure.
thing?
It's a thing. I mean, there are, like with any religion, there are people who believe slightly different things. It's not I will say this, there's not like an official stance from the
On
faith on whether or
dinosaurs.
not dinosaurs existed. Um, Different leaders at different times have talked about evolution in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly within the last, I would say, 30 years. I mean, as far as I've been alive and can remember,
Mm-hmm.
no general authority has spoken literally about the creation being 7 days or even 7,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think absolutely evolution's a thing. I think absolutely dinosaurs existed on this earth. I think the earth itself is billions of years old. And as far as man first being on the earth, yeah, it was Adam and Eve. I believe in that. I don't know exactly where they took over from Neanderthals, but somewhere along the
Interesting.
line.
Well, I'm glad you believe in dinosaurs because otherwise this podcast would have gone a whole nother hour.
I know. Oh my gosh, we dodged it. Holy smokes. Thank goodness. I do think the earth's flat though. All right. Thank you, everybody. No.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my goodness. Maria, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, fantastic. Thanks for having me. This is great. I'd come back anytime.
Oh, beautiful. Good, good, good. Once maybe we'll have an election night extravaganza or after the election debrief.
I'm down.
We can I'll bring you a box of Kleenex or a hazmat suit. I don't know what you're going to need when Trump wins, but
Mm. I'm gonna buy champagne and be optimistic, just
yeah,
like I
good.
was in 2016.
Ooh. So let me ask you this. Did you cry in 2016? Was that an emotional moment for you?
Yeah. So when my dad was running for office, I had the great luxury of meeting Hillary and Bill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I had a private tour of the White House,
Oof.
and I got to hold Socks, their cat.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I've had some experiences with both Hillary and Bill that have been really special.
Yeah, hopefully just
Um,
good experiences with Bill.
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I met
good.
Bill a couple of times,
Sure.
and the thing with him that people that don't know him have to understand is the charisma that oozes out of him is the equivalent of like a Brad Pitt. Like I
Yeah,
would imagine it would be very hard for anyone of any age to really say no to him.
or any gender.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
anybody at all, a cat,
sure,
a dog.
sure.
So I think not that that excuses him from any behavior he may or may not have done, but
I mean, he knows he has that power, Maria. He should be
yeah,
able to wield it for good.
but I also don't think you can turn that off. Like I think that's just
Yeah.
I met Brad Pitt and Bill Clinton in the same day. They have the
Wow.
same, and I was like, yes, yes, and yes, and I
Oh
have
my
no
gosh.
like you just
Same
don't have
day?
control of your own body. Yeah, that's we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, same day.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
met Hillary when I was 8, and
Age of
that was
accountability.
yeah, and that was special.
Yeah.
And I think she is a very special person.
Yeah.
I think people can have their opinions of her, but you can't knock that she's educated, that
Right.
she's knowledgeable, that she's the most qualified female this
Mm.
country's ever seen in terms of somebody to run for president. So I think
Mm-hmm.
some of those levels, the fact that she lost was heartbreaking because as a working woman, as a liberal woman, as a career-oriented person, as somebody who wants to see the country improve, it was
Mm-hmm.
hard to watch that and feel like something was going to happen that was special. I was at the Democratic Party. I was living in Portland. I was at the Democratic Party that night.
Yeah.
And when they lost Ohio, the whole room
Yeah.
just went, oh.
Yeah.
And so that was really emotional. And then
Yeah.
I just cried the whole way home. I was up till 2 a.m. I was late for work the next. It was like the one day I showed up to work with no makeup on.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
like,
Yeah.
nobody talked to me. Like, this is. They called a meeting on my team because I was like the only girl on a team of 10 at Nike. And my manager called a meeting because everybody was upset. He was upset. But he was like, hey, look, some people are going to take this really well. Some people are going to be happy.
Sure.
Some people are going to be really upset. He's
Sure.
like, we need to be respectful. So I had my issues with him as a manager, but I think on that level, he did a great job of setting the expectation for the day so everybody could just get through it. And
Yeah.
I really appreciated that. So
Yeah.
but I was sad, and I think it's okay to be sad. I think that's valid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's
Mhm.
valid. It's unbelievable. No. Yeah. It's
Bummer,
true.
but
It's true. I mean, I don't know how this is going to go. It's going to be an interesting time.
I think it'll be historic, but I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I just remember I was in my bed in North Carolina watching the debate, watching the results come in,
Mhm.
and the palatable disappointment on the anchors at MSNBC when they announced Florida and then Ohio was devastating.
Mm-hmm. And the
Yeah.
scramble of calculating electoral votes after that, you're just like,
I mean, there's just no way. North Carolina was the first. I mean, I was in North Carolina, and I remember being like, if North Carolina goes Republican, I don't think she's going to win. And I don't know. We'll see.
It was hard. I do think, if you were to look at this from sort of religious perspective, if Trump does win, then there's reason for us to continue to be punished. There's some reason why. I mean, like, the work hasn't been done is what that means. That's it. To me, the universe or the God or whoever has signified, hey, look, you guys didn't work hard enough. There's still a lesson to be learned, because I think amidst all of this chaos that has raised my blood pressure, there are things that we've learned, unfortunately, that have been, whew.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Trump is one of those plagues we just have to deal with and overcome.
He certainly has the plague. I don't know if you heard.
I did hear. I hear he's doing fantastic
from
though.
his mouth.
Yeah, fantastic. Better than the last 20 years.
Well, if I could put a gag order on my doctor, I'd be doing great too.
We'll see. It's time to trust the science, though.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how this is going to go, Maria, but it's going to be something.
I'm gonna message you on Facebook on election night.
Please do. Please do. I mean, given all of the corruption and the ballots that are going out to 20 people, we're probably not going to know the true results until,
Yeah, I don't think we'll know, but I think we'll have an idea of.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are voting early, which is great.
Yeah. Are you mailing in? Are you going to the polls? What's happening?
Right here.
Is it filled out? Is it done?
It's not done.
Okay.
I still have some praying to do. I still have some fasting to do.
Fasting?
Yeah.
To
I don't
fill
know.
out your ballot?
Yeah. It's an important decision, Maria. This is an important decision, and we have to take it seriously. And I do take my vote seriously. I don't know. I don't know who I'm going to vote for out of Joe Biden or Joe Jorgensen. That's what I'm really not sure about. And I know a lot of people are going to hate me for that and be like, hey, if you vote for Libertarian, you're throwing away your vote again. People like you are the reason Trump won in 2016. I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think every vote matters. And I think the reason Hillary Clinton lost is because she didn't have as much support as she thought she did. And that's too bad.
And Russia was involved.
We're going to go on for another hour. And
no,
let's
but
talk Russia. Let's talk China. Let's do it.
No, I do think on a voting thing, I think if there was going to be 1 year where you were going to vote party line or like for a big party, I think if there was 1 year you're going to sacrifice and do that, you wouldn't regret that decision.
This year? You don't think so?
No, I don't. I don't think so, because I don't think I think listen, if it was the other way around, and the Democrat was awful, and it was this sort of moral thing about, am I going to vote Republican because this Democrat is so nuts?
Mm-hmm.
It would not be an easy decision. It would
Yeah.
take a lot of thought. I would probably fast as well. But
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of times that Americans have been asked to make sacrifices. It sounds harsh, but
Sure.
we've had people sacrifice their lives. We have people sacrifice for their families. And if that's your sacrifice for
Yeah.
this time period,
That's what it is. That's what the Lord asks of us.
it's a little bit more harmless than what some other people are called to do to keep our country safe.
Maybe so. Maybe so. I mean, I guess I don't know. Man, we're gonna go on for like another hour. I don't know. I don't know if our country will be necessarily more at risk under. There are two ways I view this. Okay, so first of all, America is a world player, right? Part of a world economy. I do think we would be more attuned with the world voting for Biden. I do. We're going to be better with the climate voting for Biden. We're going to be better in kind of world markets potentially voting for Biden. I don't think that Trump has actually made America weaker in international relations. I don't think so. I think we need to be tougher on China. I do. 100% think we need to be tougher on China. I don't necessarily agree with Donald Trump's affinity for dictators, but I, in an odd way, think it has made us safer. I do think North Korea and China are less likely to nuke us because they find Trump endearing.
Mm.
And that might be a terrible thing to say, but I don't know.
I don't think they find him endearing. I think that he is their puppet. I think it's.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that the cyber wars and the stuff that's going on behind the scenes that we don't know about is much, much worse than what anybody can even comprehend. And I say that coming from having worked a security background at Nike for web security.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different scale. It's for sneakers. It's not for,
sure.
war.
Yeah.
But I would say that things are much worse on that level than anybody could even guess. And I think that those countries have some tools and things up their sleeve that they're just drooling to use. And I think on that level, it makes us vulnerable.
Yeah, but let me ask you: Are you more afraid of Russia or China?
I think that Russia has less to lose. I think China has a lot more to lose in terms of trade deals and economy. Mm-hmm. I think we're very reliant on China, and China's very reliant on us.
Yeah.
I don't think Russia is as reliant, mm-hmm. and I don't think we are as reliant on them. Mm-hmm. I think Russia, it's a matter of keeping the peace. I think it's been a matter of keeping the peace for a long time.
Sure. But then why would you think Trump is a puppet of Russia, or why would it matter? I mean, even if
because he owes them a ton of money. I think it's not even political. It doesn't have to do with like security of the people. I think it has to do with he owes us a lot of money. Let's see if he's going to get it. If he doesn't,
and they have the prostitute urination tapes.
The pee-pee tapes.
Yeah.
I hope those come out someday.
Truly.
Not because I want to see them. I just want them to
yes, you do. You're so sick.
No, I don't want to see him. I don't want to see Trump naked. I have no, like, I would rather be Mormon than see him naked.
Then he can really take his reality TV star status to a whole new level.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot going on there. And I think that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for a little bit more security. I think it's complicated, but I do think that I do think it would be better. So I don't know, if you're going to make a sacrifice, and people do every day, just think about it.
Yeah, but not everyone has to sacrifice their morals, and that's really what we're talking about. Morals and ideals.
But I think everyone does sacrifice their morals from time to time, whether you repent. No, listen, Whoa. Okay. People sin every day. I don't
They
know
do, but they're
if you
not
know.
sacrificing their morals for a good. You don't sacrifice your morals for the greater good. You're
Some
not
people do.
repenting for the greater good.
Some people do.
Who? Okay, who?
People.
Who?
There's a lot of people on the planet.
But
There's a
they're not
lot.
like.
Well, wait. Okay.
Okay, yeah,
What if you sacrificed your morals
yeah,
and Joe Biden wins
yeah.
and
China
when
invades.
when no when
Yeah.
your kids are your age or older,
Hmm.
it kind of comes full circle and you're like, you know what, that vote I did, I had to sacrifice something and I had to think about that and deal with that for some time, but
Hmm.
it wasn't as long as what my kids would have had to deal with had things gone the other way.
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know what
See,
this. I don't
I
know
give
what
you
that would
things to
mean.
think about.
What would that even mean?
I just
What are you
think
talking about?
it's
I don't think
important to have perspective
it.
sometimes.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. But I also don't think that who is president truly affects a lot of our day to day.
Oh, I absolutely think it does. And I think who's in the cabinet affects, I think,
I
oh
mean, I
boy.
think you just need to stay off Twitter, Maria. Just stay off Twitter, and
No,
you never even know.
this comes from a place of knowledge, but thank you. This doesn't come from Bette Midler's Twitter account. This comes from years of studying and
Yeah,
reading and talking.
sure.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
I,
I understand. I understand. We'll see.
I
What I'll
get that
probably
we're,
do is vote for Joe and just tell everyone I voted for Biden.
don't do that. You know you're
I'll say Joe.
sacrificing.
I'll just leave it.
You
I'll just
know,
say no, I voted for
you
Joe. And
know
they'll be like Biden. I'll be like, yep, I
you're
guess.
sacrificing your morals by lying.
I mean, it's for the greater good though, because everyone else will be
But
happy.
that's not for the greater good.
Sure,
That's
sure it
just a
is.
lie.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think your mind is already made up.
Do you?
I mean, you just said it.
No, it's really not made up though. That's the problem. I am the person they are all trying to sway. It's a problem. We need more political parties in this country. That's what we need.
Oh God, no, we don't.
We do. We
People
need a
are
third party.
confused with two.
No, people aren't confused. People are upset because neither party truly captures what the wide swaths of the population truly want.
But I think that's because we're a little off track and have been for
I don't think there's a
a
track.
wee
What do you
bit.
mean? There's no track.
Yeah, I think there's a track.
There's no right or wrong when it comes to, who pays for college. You know, I think there are
No,
so many political
but I
questions that are not moral questions, but we treat them as moral questions.
yeah, but I think I
And I
don't
know I
know.
was being very cavalier about that before. I
Yeah,
don't think necessarily voting is a moral choice, but a lot of people do.
that's so funny. I uh I I think I don't know. I think that what is politics and what actually goes on behind the scenes on Capitol Hill and the conversations and the bills and the laws and versus what's in the news and what they're trying to convince you of are different.
Yeah.
And the thing that bums me out about journalism as a whole is that the, it's not supposed to be that way. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be journalism isn't supposed to be marketing, really.
Right.
It's supposed to be the delivery of information,
Right.
and propaganda is marketing.
Right.
And right now the lines of that are very blurred,
Yeah.
and that puts democracy and stability of a nation at risk.
Yeah. I
So
wholeheartedly agree with you.
that's
We might be talking about totally different sides of the political divide, but I 100% agree.
yeah, I mean, and oddly, I've traveled to a couple different countries that have been victims of genocide,
Yeah.
like I've been to Cambodia and I've been to Rwanda.
Yeah.
And the thing that took down those countries, especially Rwanda, was propaganda from the media, to the point where one day they were like, hey, go kill your neighbor. And everyone was like, okay,
Okay.
that sounds great.
Yeah.
I don't think that will happen here, but I do think there are people that are rooting for it pretty seriously now.
Yeah, I do too. And I cannot tell which side will be the first. That's the real problem.
Well, I think the side that's more pro Second Amendment is the side that's more prepared.
They are
Okay,
certainly more prepared.
I think that both sides are angry, but I think that side is definitely more prepared.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what
And
we
it
don't want
might,
either
right.
side to be prepared, really. But
Right. I definitely, yeah,
so
that is true. Right's more prepared, but I
I
think,
do like peace.
yeah,
Peace.
is that, I hope with Trump and Pence, what they should do is say, this is for V-shaped recovery, baby. That's what this is about.
The man is crazy. We can all agree on that. Even the people who support him, they're like, we know he's unhinged, but that's what we like about him. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
thing.
well, that's what he ran on, right? Outside. He was an outsider. It's great.
Whatever.
Oh my gosh.
He's not an outsider.
Did you ever read the book? Is it called The Outsiders? That book?
Oh yeah, didn't we all? God,
I think it's great.
Great
novel.
I don't like when I was forced to read novels in school. Like, I'm a nonfiction person, so I'm like, textbook, cool, can do that. Autobiography, great. Novel, please.
No.
I think that's why I've never read the Bible.
Got a great nonfiction book for you, and 2 of my friends will deliver it to you if you wish. So, Maria, this has been a pleasure.
Fiction.
What?
This has been fun. I said I do believe it is fiction, but thank you very much.
Well,
I have a copy somewhere.
Until you read it. Yeah, this has been great, and we will have to do this again at some point. But man, so fun, and we could talk for hours. Apparently, I didn't know that going into this, but we could.
I'm pretty easy to talk to. I get you there.
Absolutely. Yeah. This was great. Anything you want to plug?
No, I mean, thank you for having me on. This has been fantastic. I've only done a few podcasts at this point, so this is really fun for me. I host a Twitch show that you've been on.
Yes.
Comedy and Chill. It's every Wednesday. Well, it's not every Wednesday. I think it'll be once a month, but it is happening next Wednesday at 8 p.m. And we've got Ian Bagg headlining, and that'll be great. So if you're free, and you're watching this before October 21st, is that? No, October 17th. Holy. Yeah. I think it's the 17th.
Yeah. I don't know 14th. If this one will come out before then.
Kidding. October 14th. If it's out, if not,
it'll be the next Wednesday.
Yeah, or the 21st.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Do you have who's headlining the 21st yet?
I am working on that as we speak.
Excellent. Where can people find you? Do you use the gram or Twitter more?
I use Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Maria Bruggere on all. I have a reel that's got 106,000 views on it.
Hey.
So I can be funny on all platforms, people.
Absolutely. And your Zoom show, Comedy and Chill, is way chiller than this has been.
I don't know. This is pretty chill.
No, this was pretty chill.
I enjoyed this.
This was good. You're a delight, Maria. Thank you so much for doing this.
Too.
Great. Well, I'll put your handles in the show notes when this comes out, and follow Maria. She's fantastic, and she tries to pay it forward. That's what Comedy and Chill is all about. Her trying to help out other comedians that are struggling, in particular during the quarantine time, because we have no other outlet. You're a good person. I don't know how you've done it, but you've done it.
I win. That's great. Thank you, Seth.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Have a good night.
See ya.